Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Media Boat Podcast. Today is March the 17th, St. Patty's Day. We're decked out in our green for you. Mike went a little overboard, but has to be expected. If you don't know what the Media Boat Podcast... Huh?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I missed that. If you don't know what the Media Boat Podcast is, we are a podcast that's dedicated to covering the media, aka movies, television, video games, and music, not necessarily in that order, especially this week, since we're going to do a little bit of a reverse show for you, which we do every once in a while when we're feeling like one side's a little bit more heavy than the other. As you well know, if you're in our audience, that the Grammys happened last weekend, and we want to talk about those. So we will get to that in the music section. But this week, we'll start with video games. So I pass this over to you, and let's talk about them, shall we? Oh, yeah, you're Mike, and I'm Matt. I guess I didn't mention that part.
Yes, that's what I was waiting for. I'm Mike. He's Matt. We're just going to roll with this intro.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I already did it. I'm not going to do it again. Let's go.
Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day. Have you been drinking?
Only Mountain Dew Baja Blast Zero Sugar.
Well,
so yes.
So yes and no. But yes, it is St. Patrick's Day. Feeling a little good, drinking a little bit. So we're going to do a reverse show today. Back it on up. Sure. And as you said, we're going to start with video games. But we're going to start with video games with new releases, as we always do. Upcoming this week, quite a lot for you to choose from, including Root Film for the PS4 and Switch, Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville - Complete Edition for the Switch, Arkham Horror, Mother's Embrace for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Arkham Horror is DC.
That would make sense.
Batman related. Overcooked, All You Can Eat for the PS4, Switch, and PC. Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town for the Switch, Tales from the Borderlands for the Switch, and Tunchi for the Switch. Good week to be a Switch owner.
Yeah, I've noticed that every once in a while there'll be just a drop of like 5 or 6 Switch exclusives, and this is one of those weeks. I guess Nintendo likes to schedule their Switch schedule with like days like this, which is like, everything's out.
It's a Switch bomb.
Switch bomb.
All right. So
let's talk about some game news.
And we start with a bit of a follow-up story. So we talked about Stadia closing its Focus Studios, and part of that departure included Jade Raymond, who has founded a new studio called Haven, which will be working with Sony on its first project. At least the studio is probably called Haven because that's what it's referred to on the PlayStation blog, where it is also referred to as Haven Studios. And her byline on the post calls it Haven Entertainment Studios. So one of 3 names there. We're just going to call it Haven.
To be extra confusing, there's also a game that's out right now on all platforms, including Game Pass, called Haven, that has nothing to do with the studio. So it's just really bad timing for the game Haven.
So if you're going to Google it, probably Google Haven Entertainment Studios.
Or Studios, Haven
or
Studios.
Haven Studios.
Yeah.
Well, Jade Raymond announced the studio through a post on the PlayStation blog where she confirmed the studio is already working on a new IP for PlayStation. So it sounds like PlayStation might own the IP of whatever it is Haven is developing.
They seem like a second party, yeah.
Yeah. An important distinction to make is that Haven is an independent studio, but is receiving support and backing from Sony for its debut game. Not unlike Kojima Productions, which did with Death Stranding.
Mm.
If it's similar like that, it's probable the game will remain a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but given Sony's recent moves about putting its game on the PC, there could be a future for whatever this game is elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that, people who were unceremoniously let go from Stadia are kind of found a new venture to partake in.
Yeah, I do. It makes you wonder whether Jade brought anybody over from that project or not. It's not clear.
I would assume some people.
The other question here, and I think the $1 million question here is, do you think this is an original IP for Sony, or do you think this is, as the industry has been wont to do lately, a resurrection of some old PlayStation property?
I don't think you do that out of the gate. I think you do new IP with new technology. You say, hey, this is what we want to do. Either, since they worked with Stadia, something to do with streaming, or something that is low-key a new IP, as it's put, that maybe they want to make a full-fledged game. I mean, if they're going to use an old IP, I wouldn't be surprised if it's some Astrobot, because PlayStation 5.
I mean, Astrobot seems to be a Japan Studios, or sorry, a Asobi game, so I don't think it'll be that. But yeah, it's interesting to see Sony just keeps accumulating new studios, not unlike Microsoft. They both kind of feel like they're both like, it's an arms race, a studio arms race for exclusives at this point. Exactly like that, yes.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you could argue that Microsoft spent most money at this point. So they're definitely showing off.
ZeniMax deal.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what Haven has to offer. But man, Jade Raymond can't stay anywhere for longer than a year, it seems. And you gotta wonder what's going on behind the scenes sometimes.
Where else has Jade Raymond been at?
So Jade started at Ubisoft. She was head of Assassin's Creed in the era of the first Assassin's Creed way back when, and left that project for all sorts of things and has bounced project to project. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but she seems like a trusted name, trusted enough to land herself jobs like this all the time. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll see what Haven makes.
So expect open world game then, possibly?
Not necessarily. I mean, Sony's been really big on the single player adventure kind of games with the God of Wars and the Naughty Dog stuff. This might slot into that unless they're looking for something to differentiate their portfolio, which is also possible. I don't know. We won't know. I think jury's out on this one. We probably won't hear again from Haven until next year, is my guess.
Usually 3 years if it's starting from scratch.
But I mean, like, even for an announcement of what they're working on, I don't think you hear anything until the end of the year, maybe next year.
So, possibly.
Yep, no rush.
Well, buckle in because we get a double dose of PlayStation news, as the PlayStation blog confirmed some free games coming up. And you know how much I love free games.
We all do.
Yes. Sony did confirm that it would be making 9 games available for free on March 25th until April 22nd. These are all games from various independent developers and include the following: Abzu, Enter the Gungeon, Res Infinite,
Gungeon,
Subnautica, Astrobot Rescue Mission, Moss, Thumper, Paper Beast, and the following:
The Witness. He's talking about The Witness. That's an Easter egg for long-time Media Podcast listeners. Yeah, pretty good picks, but it seems like they saved the best for last.
Yes, because while all these games will be dropping for free on the 25th, a game I want to get back into and may even get my doctor to watch me play it because it's got a strong female lead. Horizon Zero Dawn will be made available from April 19th through May 14th for free. So if you've never played any of these games, you'll have a lot to keep you busy over the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn coming for free April 19th. I assume this is in the lead up to get people to play it for the upcoming Horizon Forbidden West.
This list is pretty good, especially in contrast to, remember the list of first party games that they said were going to be free for PS5 users upon launch? I think that this is almost as good as that list, because if there's a lot of heavy hitters from third parties here. Some are available on other consoles. I believe Enter the Gungeon is a Game Pass game as well. So if you're in the Xbox ecosystem, you've probably already played that. Also, The Witness has been bumping around for the last few years on multiple platforms. You probably played that as well. But having Astrobot and Moss here, those are VR games. So perfect for VR people who maybe are picking up a cheap headset right now while they're on sale, or a good lead-in for the new headset that's expected to launch for the PS5.
I do believe both Abzu and Rez. Well, I know Abzu was a free game for the PlayStation Plus, I think years ago at this point. I think Res Infinite was also a game that was free.
It may have been. That's also a game that has a VR mode.
Right, but the rest of these have not been a part of that PS Plus free game per month.
Yeah, it's a strong lineup. I think it'll be good to fill a lot of people's gaps in their game history, especially while they're waiting to play something on the PS5, because there's not a whole lot coming out.
Yep. So shout out here, as we said, if you like puzzles and you've been a long time follower of us on the Media Boat podcast here, The Witness is a game you should definitely be playing, or at least have played. If you love puzzles, if you love mysteries, and if you really love puzzles, The Witness is a game for you. And I played it. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I believe that was one of my top games of the year we played it.
It seems super cool.
Yep, really cool.
All righty.
All right. We have thoughts.
We do.
Yes. So let me finish up my thoughts from last week because I actually beat Control this week.
Okay.
And I actually got into some of the DLC from it too, because that came as part of the free PS Plus games that we've been talking about and that we love, because we love free stuff here.
Yeah.
We always love free stuff.
Real quick question. I've been forgetting to ask this, but how's it running on your PS4? Because you have a base PS4.
Yes, I do.
My understanding about the base console versions of Control is that they're kind of bad.
Yes,
like,
it is.
Are you having issues with the frame rate?
Constantly.
Yeah. I've even run that thing on both a PlayStation Pro and an Xbox Series X, and it's still framing on those things. I haven't run it on my PC yet. I hear the PC version, especially with a decent card, is a much better experience, but I have not tried that yet. But okay, yeah, I just wanted to check on that because you hadn't mentioned any issues, but they've been happening.
It's very jumpy when you come out from the PlayStation being in rest mode or just starting up a new game. And then going into new levels, it can get kind of very choppy. And if there's too many people on screen or particle effects, yes.
Yeah.
But as you said, I am running on a base PS4 model.
Right.
So it could be time to upgrade soon this year, most likely.
If you can find a PlayStation 5.
If you could find it.
Trust me, it's hard. Anyways,
I love
so you finished it.
Yeah, I finished it. I love the gameplay. I did think the ending wasn't as satisfactory because it wasn't huge boss battle. It was grinding dungeon mode, kind of. but the storyline is great, strong characters throughout. It definitely made me want to explore more. It definitely made me want to jump right into the DLC immediately after finishing it too, which is a good narrative and good gameplay that I finished the story and I still want to play more of it. And then, yes, there's a lot of extra post content. Probably not going to get to it. And because I've been playing that and beat it and kind of, how I play, haven't quite gotten to this month's release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I keep adding on here and they keep having to take off because I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
But I was super happy playing with Control.
Cool.
I was super happy with the gameplay. It did feel a bit choppy towards the end as it seemed to rush you new abilities immediately rather than the first couple where it kind of spread it out and you got more time to play with them.
I heard that take as well around the time of its release. A lot of people are like, yeah, this spoiler thing that you get it comes way too late and you barely have time to use it.
Right, because by the time you get it, it's already pointing you towards the end, but you kind of want to play with it.
Yeah, and so it's like, man, I wish I had this. Yeah, I wish I had this earlier in the game when I could enjoy it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then even in the DLC, it adds 2 new abilities, but on the abilities you can only use in the DLC. Which is kind of smart because you don't want to add stuff that makes the other game, the original game, kind of either too hard or too easy.
Right.
Because you have them. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad I played it. I would encourage people to play it if they like the third-person shooter action genre. The story can feel like it drags on at parts, but it's enough of a good mystery that you want to keep pulling on that thread.
Yeah. I still have downloaded on my Series X. I should try it again at some point. I've done it twice now where I've played the first intro of the game and then I put it down and never came back to it on 2 different platforms now. And so I need to stop doing that. I need to continue one of them.
I'm trying to think when I got hooked because
I
played like the first 4 hours and then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and see this through.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you play anything else?
Nope. But I hear you got birthday money.
Yes, somebody, I don't know, like a podcast co-host or something, bought me a gift card for the Switch, which is ironic considering last week on this very show, I said live that I hadn't touched my Switch in a very long time.
And then you were given a reason to touch your Switch.
I guess so. Sounds dirty. So yeah, I touched my Switch. I got my filthy hands all over it. And I bought and downloaded Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
3D Land?
No. So 3D Land is the 3DS game. 3D World was the Wii U game.
Okay.
They're similarly titled because they're similarly made. So I didn't play this on the Wii U. I didn't own a Wii U. And if you skip this one too, basically, did I type it wrong? That makes sense. That explains a lot, turns out. Basically, it's a Mario game that splits the difference between the 3D games and the 2D games. And what I mean by that is it's not a big open world like Galaxy or Odyssey tends to be, or even Mario 64 or Sunshine was. It's more like compartmentalized levels, but it's also in 3D still. It's not a 2D game, but it borrows a lot from the 2D games. Like the levels are timed. There's a score. You're going to a flag at the end of the levels. The levels aren't that long. And it's all based around very small, puzzle-like platforming things as opposed to big sprawling exploration. So it's a more focused Mario game. And so you're not getting a lot of the wandering around, wondering what the objective is that sometimes is the worst part of an Odyssey or a Sunshine. It's a really fun game so far. I remember when it came out for Wii U, a lot of people praised it. A lot of people say it's an underrated Mario game in the legacy of the series. And now that I'm jumped into it, I totally see why people loved it. I'm having a lot of fun with this game. One of my favorite things so far is the cat suit. And you can choose who you are. It's one of the multiplayer. Mario games. So that means you have access to Mario, Luigi, Peach, and a Toad as the player that you play as. And so, yeah, regardless of who you could play, you could get this cat suit power up that makes you into a cat, and you can like climb walls, scratch enemies. It's hilarious. And it's so cute because Mario, when he wins the level, will go meow in the Mario voice. And it's adorable. Then on top of the existing 3D World game, which I'm having really fun with because I missed it the first time around, there's also a new game in here. It's not a very long game, but it is new. That's the Bowser's Fury part of the title. And it, ironically enough, is an open world. It's kind of Odyssey style where it's a big playground that basically they put you in, except it has also been sliced into not quadrants because there's not 4 of them, but like into little slices of levels that are all themed. And similar to Odyssey, you're basically going around trying to solve in world puzzles to get the like star equivalent. In this case, they're cat shines, harkening back to Mario Sunshine. And the hook, though, for the Bowser's Fury part, as the name implies, is there is a giant Bowser on this map, and he is mad. You could say that he is furious because he's been like poisoned by some sort of black ooze.
Is he fast as well?
No, he's actually pretty slow, which is good because he could wreck your shit if he gets up close to you. And he will, because what happens is, in a Godzilla kaiju-esque way, periodically throughout the game, he'll wake up. He'll emerge from the ooze and will go to wherever you are, regardless of whatever task you're doing, and try shooting fireballs at you to try to interrupt you. So, in a kind of a Breath of the Wild kind of way, this can really throw you off. Just like in that game where it's raining, I can't climb a wall anymore. This game is, I was just trying to get this shine by jumping these platforms, and now there's fireballs all over me and I can't do it. And so you have to wait it out sometimes, dodging fireballs until Bowser's done, tired, and goes back to sleep so you can finally solve the puzzle you're on. So the flip side of this is that you can actually summon Bowser when you want to try to do damage to him, because the ultimate goal here is that he is a final boss that you must defeat. It's just that you can't do it all at once because of how big and powerful he is. But you get to a certain point in the little quadrant level of getting enough cat shines, and there's a bell that you can ring that summons Bowser, that actually no, I want Bowser to come over here. And that's where you see stuff that were shown in the trailer, where Mario can become a giant cat Mario and battle Bowser at his own size. And that's Gigamax. Where you kind of, and it's kind of like a Gigantamax Pokemon battle. Yeah, actually, weirdly enough. And that's how you do damage to it. And then eventually you'll do enough damage to Bowser that he will eventually fall and you'll win. But my understanding is, just like 3D World, there is more to do after the story is over, after Bowser is downed. So this is also multiplayer, but it's only 2-player multiplayer. Second player can control Bowser Jr. as a co-op partner.
Oh, not Luigi?
Not Luigi. But if you don't have a real person, which right now, unless you live with somebody, probably not, Bowser Jr. can be controlled by AI, and you can actually set how helpful Bowser Jr. is. So if you wander around and set his AI high enough, he'll actually destroy enemies for you, which is kind of nice. If you say you're maybe not that good of a Mario player or something. So it's a way to kind of modernize. It's like a new version of the assist mode that they've had in Mario's in the past, but a way simplified version. So as soon as I powered it up, I was like, no, I want Bowser Jr. to be completely passive. I don't want him to help at all. And so far I haven't needed him, but if you do, it's nice that it's there. So there's a lot to love in this game. I see why this game has such ardent fans. I'm just scratched the surface. From what I understand about 3D World is, once you beat it once, there's a whole second part of the game that unlocks that's even better. So I'm really excited to see what else is in this game and play more.
I played 3D Land for the 3DS.
Me too, yes.
Yeah, and once you beat that game, you played it back as Luigi.
Right. I think there's something similar here. So.
Right.
So
but
yeah,
so which one do you like better, the 3D World or the Bowser's Fury part?
So I played about the same amount of both of them. I think right now I'm angling a little towards the 3D World portion because I like the focus of the smaller, like more compact levels. I guess I had my, open world stuff towards the end of last year and I kind of got that out of my system. And so now I want more of a directed experience because I have less time. And so, yeah, that might be part of why I'm kind of glomming onto that part. But I think both are cool. Both have their strengths and both are really fun. So I recommend it to anybody who missed the Wii U version to give this a try.
All right. Sounds like a media boat. Play it.
It is a recommend for sure. It is unfortunate though if you did already play this game that it is a $60 full price Switch game because Bowser's Fury on its own is not worth $60. My understanding is it's only a 4 or 5 hour experience. So that sucks. But if you skipped it, the 3D World portion, this is more than worth the money.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so Switch. Oh, and I also jumped back into Ring Fit Adventure this week. I've done a couple of days. My front of my thighs are killing me, but it's really, really fun. So I'm still enjoying that game. I finally got to World 3 after years.
You're only on World 3?
Yeah, like I said, because every time I take a big break, I start over.
Why?
Because I think like, oh well, I lost all of those I lost all of like what I learned. So yeah, so I'm going to start from the beginning. And so this is from starting from the beginning again.
So where were you when you last time then?
No, that's what I'm saying is this is the first time I've ever gotten to World 3 because I've never done it more than like 2 or 3 days in a row. I always drop off.
Oh.
Yeah. I never had the commitment to it. I'm going to commit this time, I swear. So
I won't tell you where I'm at then.
I don't want to know. I know there's like potentially unlimited levels in this game, so.
Well, I'm going to reach unlimited levels if I keep going the way I am.
So I need to get up to that. But yeah, I'm just in the early goings right now.
Yep, I've been playing Ring Fit Adventure every day. I guess that's the other game I've been playing, but I've been talking about it.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it every day, but I just figured I'd bring it up since I started back up again.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
But yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty much what I'm playing. I'm also playing something I don't believe released this year. But as soon as I say what it is, you're going to be like, that is the most you game that's ever existed.
That is the most you game that's ever existed.
It is a Sudoku dating sim.
That is the most you game that has ever existed.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it came out this year. I think it was
mobile
last year
game,
but no, it's on Switch as well.
Okay.
See, the $70 ended up getting me 2 games. Anyway. So yeah, let's move on though, because I don't think I have anything else to talk about. So.
All right, let's move on then to music, and we always start music with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100, and it finally happened. We have new music.
Well, do we? Because it seems like we have 3 songs from the same person, and then not a whole else lot left after that.
Right. Well, Drake somehow then found his way into the spotlight.
Yes.
What happened?
He released a mixtape because he is wont to do that often. The sequel to last year's Scary Hours EP. This is called creatively Scary Hours 2.
I'm shocked by that naming.
It is 3 tracks long, and all 3 tracks have landed on the Hot 100 this week.
So it's a 3-track mixtape.
Yes.
Because it's so short, it doesn't count as an album. It's a mixtape.
Yes.
3 songs.
Yeah. Did he lose you yet?
Yes. He lost me.
And this is, by the way, the first time. This is the first time this has ever happened.
Can it
3
be
songs in the top,
please?
Debuting in the top 3.
So, I guess no, we can't call it an album then. Gonna say by this logic.
Yeah, it's not.
Your entire album charted 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
But it's not an album. It's a mixtape.
From this release, you could say. I believe that's the way that Billboard is phrasing it. It's like it's the first time that 3 songs from a single release have charted in spots 1, 2, and 3 in the Billboard.
Because I'm
Hot
sure they
100.
couldn't call it an album either.
Because they don't know what the hell to call it either. It's technically an EP. It's just that in the streaming age, that doesn't mean anything. So.
Right.
Anyway.
So anyways, what we're dancing around is that it's a big week for Drake.
Yes.
As number one, What's Next is your number one song this week by Drake. At number 2, Wants and Needs are What's Next, which is also by Drake. And then rounding out that top 3 spots by Drake is Lemon Pepper Freestyle, which I believe you can order at your Wild Wings.
Yes, that's my order at the Wild Wings, exactly.
But that is featuring Rick Ross.
However, don't recommend you order, you go to the Coke Freestyle machine and go to lemon pepper as your Coke flavor, because I don't think that'd be very good.
No, do not do that. Also, do not order lemon aid and then put pepper in it to get lemon pepper. That's not how that works.
Ugh.
But yeah, congratulations to Drake for kicking off a 16-year-old off number 1 spot with your top 3 songs.
Hey, she's no longer driving in that. Well, no, she's still driving in that neighborhood.
She's still there because at number 4 is not her. It's Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic. And rounding out your top 5, Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
We should probably explain what that Silk Sonic thing is. Silk Sonic is Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, I believe. And they actually premiered the song on the Grammys, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
Wait, so that's not a duo joint? That's a group? It's not featuring?
Okay. I think what it started as was just Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak wanted to collaborate, but now they're stylizing themselves as and trying to sell it as a band that they're in, because that was the thing that happened at the Grammys. Pre the Grammys, they were slated to perform, but not under the name of Silk Sonic. They went on to Twitter, Bruno Mars mostly, and tried a Twitter campaign to get the fans to support them, to get the Academy to call it a performance by Silk Sonic so they could launch this as their band. And it was apparently successful, as that's what happened at the performance at the Grammys. So
Gnarls Barkley all over again.
Think Gnarls Barkley, exactly. It's that kind of idea where it's like, it's really these artists, but you know what? Let's just call it the band name.
So the band known as Silk Sonic.
We'll get to them a little later.
Right. But before that, we have the Billboard 200, your albums chart.
Sure do.
And once again, drudging its album out here, Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen.
Can't get rid of it.
Still your number 1 song.
It's like
number 1 album. At number 2, it's Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon by Pop Smoke.
Yep.
At 3, Shiesty Season by Pooh Shiesty. At number 4, After Hours by The Weeknd. And rounding out your top 5, The Voice by Lil Durk.
I swear.
And if all of that sounds familiar, it's because it was the exact same thing last week.
It didn't change a whole lot. Actually, it's not, because the highlights was the Weeknd album in the top 5 last week. And it has been replaced by After Hours. This keeps happening. They keep swapping spots, and I don't know why.
I guess it's whatever album you're listening to Blinding Lights on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whatever Blinding Lights version you're on, keep swapping. Who knows?
Well, if you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases.
All right.
Ooh, we got some good ones this week.
It's an interesting pack of releases this week, if they all come out.
If they all come out.
Yeah.
Because they include Justice by Justin Bieber.
Yep.
Yeah, that Justin Bieber.
That just
Still Woman Enough by Loretta Lynn. Today We're the Greatest by Middle Kids. Which is fun. Duets by Sting.
Yeah, yes, that's Sting.
That's Sting.
Duets with who? I don't know. You're just got to listen and find out.
You can find out who Sting duets with.
Yeah. I hear that it takes a very long time and that it's kind of like a weird tantric thing for him.
I'm not giving you that one.
Ancient Sting jokes here on the Media Boat podcast that won't make sense to anybody under the age of 30. Moving on.
Exactly, not our audience. And lastly, finally, the Lana Del Rey album, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, new release this week.
It's weird considering how critically acclaimed her last one was. There's been zero hype for this thing. It seems like everybody's forgotten that this thing even exists and is coming out this year. So I'm very curious. After that single came out and I listened to it and was kind of disappointed in it. I'm very curious to see how this does.
Yeah, I mean, especially coming off the hype that you had last year or 2 years ago for the Lana Del Rey album. Fucking Norman Rockwell or Norman fucking Rockwell.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
Norman explicit tag Rockwell.
Explicit tag.
All right. So before we get to the Grammy talk, because we're gonna have a lot to talk about the Grammy talk.
We are.
Let's talk about someone who wasn't at the Grammys. Was at the Grammys?
Not this year.
Not this.
But she has been in the past.
Yes. She's also been in rehab in the past.
Yes.
Demi Lovato.
Yes. Besides the Grammys, this was a Demi-saturated news week in the music world. It was pretty much the only two things that happened. She has kind of the background of this story is that she has a YouTube original documentary coming out this week that kind of goes into her stint at rehab, her struggles with addiction, other things that are in her past. Apparently it's very revealing. I don't know anybody who has YouTube originals or YouTube, whatever, Red. Are they still calling it Red?
Premium.
Premium, whatever the hell it is. I don't know anybody who has that. So I don't know anybody who's watched this or is going to. So yeah, kind of hard to comment on it, but it exists. It's out there.
Yep. Because during the live stream on Clubhouse Monday night.
So are you familiar with Clubhouse?
No.
Oh, you precious little child. Let me tell you.
If it's not Mickey's Clubhouse, I don't know it.
So Clubhouse is a thing that's very popular with old people on Facebook. What it is, it's like, imagine podcasts, but they're live and they're like Zoom calls, but without the video. Clubhouse is this place where you can basically sign up and there'll be like lectures, sort of like, imagine like a TED Talk with like an active audience,
okay,
where somebody says, I'm an expert on so and such and such, like I'm an expert at non-fungible tokens. Sign up for my non-fungible tokens Clubhouse stream, and I will talk at you for an hour and tell you what I know about non-fungible tokens. And people sign up for this
and they'll respond.
Yeah, there's some sort of question and answer portion at the end, but mostly it's just people who are alleged experts on subjects that are trying to talk at people for a while, and they pay for this. You pay for this experience.
Now, do you have to be an expert on a subject to launch a Clubhouse?
There is no way you can prove it. That's the thing about Clubhouse, and that's what's happened to Clubhouse, is it's attracted a lot of people who claim that they're experts at something that actually aren't. But people will buy into it because they're literally paying for it, and so they'll believe it.
Wait, so you mean they're literally buying it?
Yes, literally buying what they're selling. It's like, as you might imagine, this has attracted a lot of conservative pundits. This has attracted a lot of people that are into Bitcoin. That's why I used the non-fungible tokens example. This has attracted a lot of people who are in the startup world, a lot of tech bros. So it's exactly the kind of audience that you might expect it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Clubhouse is, to fill in the gaps. I'm not really sure why Demi Lovato is on Clubhouse, but here we are.
Could we be on Clubhouse?
No, I don't think she
We're
usually would be.
We're technically experts, right?
She's an expert on Demi Lovato herself.
But we're an expert on media, boats, and podcasting.
No, we're not getting on Clubhouse before you say. I refuse. Anyways. So here's the story.
So with that roundabout,
I just needed you to know what Clubhouse was.
All right. So during the live stream on Facebook.
No, it's Clubhouse. Separate company. Completely different brand.
All right.
I just used the Facebook example because has a lot of crossover. Like that Venn diagram is pretty close. So,
okay, so Clubhouse is a separate company then.
It's a separate company. It's not owned by Facebook.
All right. So during a live stream on Monday on Clubhouse, which I've just learned about, literally your brain is exploding just like mine right now. Demi Lovato revealed that her first album since 2017 will be titled Dancing with the Devil, ... The Art of Starting Over, and will release on April 2nd. Just because putting on April 1st would be April Fool's Day joke.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. Lovato explained that the original title was just The Art of Starting Over, but then she decided to give it a double title to reflect the importance of, wouldn't you know it, her upcoming documentary, Dancing with the Devil. Quote, if you listen to it track by track, if you follow the track listing, it's kind of actually like the non-official soundtrack of the documentary, because it really does follow my life over the past couple of the years. When we went through the track listing and kind of mapped out how it kind of coincided with my life story, it made sense to add the more emotional stuff in the beginning and then transition into The Art of Starting Over. So we have a new album by Demi Lovato and, as you mentioned, a new documentary series on YouTube Premium.
I don't believe it's a series. I think it's just a one-off thing.
YouTube, paid YouTube subscription.
Yeah, it's some sort of YouTube documentary. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna watch this. I don't know if anybody has access to this. I don't know, but it seems interesting. There's some quotes that are coming out of it that make me exceptionally worried, even though I was already worried about Demi. Now even more worried about Demi. She seems to have gone through some real shit.
So. Right, and as we've seen with Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish, behind-the-scenes documentaries are pretty popular right now.
Yeah, it's a hot time for them, especially in the pop world. But Demi's story is so different.
Oh yeah, and the Britney Spears
them. And the Britney Spears thing. And so yeah, I think that what kind of sets Demi's apart is that there's a lot heavier content in this thing, from what I understand, and definitely what I'm hearing from people who have watched this thing. So yeah, buyer beware on that one. So yeah, expect a lot of wild, heavy stuff from this.
Well, if it's featuring Demi Lovato's life, it will be wild and heavy stuff.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right. But I can't really speak much to it because I have not seen it. So.
Yep. All right.
But what I did see, I saw something. We need to open up the can of worms that is Sunday night's Grammys.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, so before we get to thoughts, we need to talk about the Grammys. I guess the Grammys we'll cover our thoughts on that right now. And
this is kind of news and our thoughts about the thing because they're kind of intertwined in a way.
So, Grammys, we'll just talk about them.
That was kind of my idea, but then you went all newsy and actually wrote down the big winners. So let's just go through those.
Well, because get those out of the way. In case we don't remember, or we actually want to be accurate in our reporting.
Yeah,
I wrote them down, so we're not just like, wait, what did they win? Huh? What was that?
Right.
Who won? So, first off,
reverse order here.
Congratulations on your winnings.
Yes, for the audience of the podcast, I'm happy to say that I won the $20 bet because Folklore by Taylor Swift was your album of the year this year, beating your pick, Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia. But while I agree with you,
Future Nostalgia did win Pop Album of the Year.
Oh, yeah, no, which I knew it would. That's the thing, is that I said to Christy the day before that the awards ran, I was like, Dua Lipa will do okay in the pop categories, but Taylor will take album. I did not predict
when it won
song
pop
or record.
Album, I was like, hey, this is it. I got the inside track here.
That was the one she was guaranteed to win. But yeah, the ones I didn't call because I was like, who the hell knows, were song and record. And good thing I didn't, because I would have gotten those both wrong.
Right, because Song of the Year went to I Can't Breathe by Her. And Record of the Year was Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish, which I feel is just the Grammys doubling down on last year's big Billie Eilish push.
That seems like the read that a lot of people are taking, is that Billie is now, I guess, what the Grammys deem as safe. which is wild to think about, thinking about what that album sounds like.
Right.
But here we are. It seems like Billie is officially, Grammy caliber after last year. And so they didn't feel too weird about giving it to her, even though it seems like most people think it's a weaker song than anything that was on the record proper. I'm not one of those people. Actually, I think this might be my favorite of Billie's songs. I like the simplicity of it, and I like that it's more traditional structure, but that's because I'm the person I am, and it seems like that's an unpopular opinion. So I actually am happy for this win because I do think it's a very well-produced song. It's also the Academy doubling down on giving Phineas Producer of the Year last year. Mm-hmm. He wasn't nominated this year, but it makes sense that logically travels, right? Because Record of the Year is the production award. It is not the songwriting award. So it makes sense that something that they've already given a Grammy to production-wise would win Record of the Year. I still wanted so badly for Dua Lipa to win in this category as well, though.
Well, yeah, I want Dua Lipa to win in all categories, but that's my bias showing.
But as for Song of the Year, this one confused me and a lot of people, it seems, because I don't know if anybody that I know has heard that Her song.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That was, and I think that even was the thing about her winning Best New Artist a couple of years back too, where it was just like, wait, who is this?
Because I've heard of her, like I've seen her on posters, and like concert announcements.
And no, I don't want this to be seen as a slight to her. I think she's talented, but it definitely seems like every once in a while the Grammys will pick somebody out of nowhere and all of a sudden they'll be Grammy royalty, and that seems to be her right now.
Right now it's her. Before it was Lord came out of nowhere, it seems like.
Lord wasn't really a Grammy winner though. I think
the Fire came out of nowhere.
No, not for me.
That win came out of nowhere.
I guess for some people. No, but the example that I'm coming back, and this is you have to go back 25 years for this reference, so bear with me. Remember Norah Jones?
Yes.
That seemed like that. Also, remember Esperanza Spalding, the jazz singer? Yeah. So these things keep happening, and again, they're all great at what they do. I'm not saying anything bad against any of them, including her. It's just, it seems weird considering what she was up against in that Song of the Year category that they chose that song. And maybe they're trying to make some sort of political statement here. They do that elsewhere over the telecast as well. And so it maybe made sense in that way. But still, to honor the Song of the Year, it seems very strange to pick something that got no chart time and that was on nobody's radar.
Well, speaking of making a statement, do you notice that The Weeknd was the host of the event?
So yeah, the whole Weeknd thing is another conversation.
So it's not here in the news, but tangential to the Grammys. I think it was on Friday or Saturday. The Weeknd came out and said that he was urging his record company to not put up his album for any Grammy related award ever.
In the future. Ever again. So this is not a new move. Some other artists have done this as well. It's just, I think The Weeknd is probably the highest profile artist to do that in a long time. And it's basically just him basically saying is like, I don't agree with the way their process of choosing records or choosing people to honor. So I want out. I'm not even gonna bother.
Yep. But host Trevor Noah hairstyle was definitely very Weeknd-like.
Yeah, he's letting me grow out, which I don't blame him. We all are right now. We all are.
Yes, we all are. That's why it's under this beautiful cap.
I gotta wear these headphones or else I would also wear a hat.
Well, you don't wear hats, but this is just for today. It's got the Green Kings logo.
Yeah. I thought Trevor Noah did an okay job. I think that he did well with the stuff that he was given. I don't know. Is this when we want to talk about the production of the actual telecast, or do you want to get through the rest of these awards?
Let's get through the awards first, because that's what we're here for, and then we'll talk about telecast.
That's what we're here for. Oh, I didn't even know.
I mean, you're here for the awards, right? So, other winners of the night.
Yeah, I like how quickly you moved on from that because you knew what my answer is going to be.
Yes, I did. Other winners from the night include Tiffany Haddish. She's now Grammy Award winning.
Yep.
Hildur Gunndóttir.
Say that again.
Hildur Gunndóttir is also a Grammy winner. That was for the Joker album. So she won for an Oscar and a Grammy for that album. Taika Waititi is now officially a Grammy winner because the Jojo Rabbit soundtrack is a Grammy winner.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped produce that, so he's technically a Grammy winner.
Yeah.
Also, No Time to Die, the Billie Eilish Bond song, is a Grammy winner. And the first time that a soundtrack from a movie that has won, that the movie has not been released yet.
Yeah, of course, the Grammys didn't know that when the nominations happened, that they would be pushed back even further. So, but yeah, it's still a fun little bit of trivia. It also meant that Billie took home 2 Grammys over the course of the night.
But of course, the big winner of the night, who I didn't realize was even going to be there, and kind of like, oh, she's actually there. Oh,
yeah,
this is actually a big deal now. Beyonce, had quite a special night, as not only did she share a win with her daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, but she also won her 28th Grammy of her career, breaking the record for the most Grammy wins ever by a female artist and by a singer.
Yeah.
She's now tied with Quincy Jones at 28 Grammys, but both of them actually trail Hungarian British conductor George Solti, who has 31, because he was the music director of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra for 22 years.
Yeah.
And had won multiple awards during that time.
So, to be clear, it's probably easier just to say artist in this case, because both Quincy Jones and this conductor, they're not exactly what the Academy would refer to as an artist. I'm not saying that what they do is not art.
Producers.
yeah, but I'm just saying that for all intents and purposes, we can now call Beyonce the winningest Grammy artist because she is.
Right, but I think Quincy Jones has 1 Grammy in which he did appear on as an artist.
Yeah, but the rest aren't that.
Yeah, the rest aren't
Beyonce
that.
still wins. Anyways, it's all semantics, but really all you need to know is that Beyonce set a record and that she has a lot of Grammys, or as I tweeted, all of them. She has all of them. She just won all of them now.
Right. So. And in case you really are wondering, it's pretty safe to say she'll cover those 3 Grammy difference.
Yes.
Probably by
the next time she releases a record. Yes. She doesn't have that much to go, really. So it'll happen within our lifetimes. Probably within the next 5 years, I would say. Yep. Easily. So those are the major awards. I think the only things that we didn't cover award-wise that's of note. Trying to think.
Oh, specialty of the Media Boat podcast, Miranda Lambert.
Yes, took a country album, which I was very happy for.
Yes, because she did not go up against Maren Morris in that category.
Yes.
If you remember, during the CMAs and the AMAs and like basically any album that Wildcard was nominated for, Maren Morris was also nominated in that category and beat her out every single time, which kind of pissed me off because Wildcard and Bluebird and all those songs on that album is fantastic and she deserves the awards for it. But she always lost to Maren Morris because it was kind of like her year, her crowning year, and it was like, okay, when's it gonna happen? Just not gonna happen. And happy to see that it finally got its due for winning a Grammy.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to see. I was happy to see her up there, especially for something like this, which I still think is her best record in a long time. So it was good to see her win. Any of the other winners we didn't cover? Those seem to be the important ones.
Yep.
So I don't know. So let's try to go through our thoughts about the night, I guess. First of all, how do you think how they did it? Because they did outdoors. They did it where they kind of split between the awards on one kind of stage area and then the performances in an indoor area in the convention center, and kind of bounce between the two of them. Most of the performances were live, though they interspersed some that were pre-taped because I guess the more elaborate ones could not be done live. I believe the Taylor Swift performance was pre-recorded. I believe the Lil Baby performance was pre-recorded. I think the Silver Sonic one might have been pre-recorded because they were doing some camera trickery with that one that I wasn't sure if they were doing live.
Right, and the BTS performance was
pre-recorded. But besides that, though, they did get a lot of live performances in there, especially at the beginning. What do you think of kind of the overall kind of vibe of the night?
I liked the two different stages, the outdoors, indoors. I like that it was separate. Like you can see Staples Center, you see the background, the kind of the LA night sky in the back there, for the when they were accepting the awards, and then have its own separate performances indoors because you need that stage, you need that movement, that camera placement. I thought it was really well done. I liked the transition that they did in the very opening of the monologue.
That was key, I think.
From the solo take, the one shot from outdoors to indoors.
Because I think you needed that to be like a visual thing to show your viewer like, oh, this is not a separate pre-recorded location. This is really happening. If you don't have that seamless shot, you lose that magic and then it doesn't work. And then the whole night is just like, oh, these are all pre-recorded, and then people are disappointed.
Right. They're pre-recorded in the studio here in the audience.
But seeing Trevor Noah actually make that walk himself actually was really cool, and I think is the reason why it all clicked.
It helped sell it a lot. Also, Trevor Noah is a really good host.
Yeah, he did a good job here. Again, I don't think all the jokes hit, but hey, it's an award show. They're not always going to all hit.
But like his initial jokes, like after someone winning, or like even like he stopped the show for the Beyonce award, is like, oh, I didn't know that. Like he's good he's quick to think on his feet, and you need a good host to do that.
I think you're right. I think that his ability to improv, I think, came in handy in a show like this where there could be unpredictable things happening. I just felt like the overall vibe of this thing was pretty classy. Like, classy is not a word that I would typically use for the Grammys, but that was the vibe I got this year, where it was just like, everything was just seemed like it was just running smooth without a hitch, no big surprises, just worked. One of the things I wanted to point out that I didn't realize while I was watching it, but I saw after I read some Twitter stuff afterwards, was that apparently only the songs played during the in memoriam section, which I thought was actually pretty well done. Besides those songs, all of the performances were contemporary. All the songs were played were from the eligible window. That's rare for the Grammys. The Grammys typically are an award show that tries to get that nostalgia kick by bringing in older artists that may not even be nominated and try to have them perform with younger artists to try to get that cachet to the older audience. They didn't bother with that at all this year. They threw all that out the window, focused on the now currently streaming artists, and I think that's really smart.
I think it worked into the favor. You didn't have that strange alchemy of new artists with legacy artists and the typical kind of tributes that they do. And like you said, the in memoriam was the only place that happened. I did see some people on Twitter mention the Eddie Van Halen tribute, one being brief, two not having anyone there to do it.
I want to say my take on, I thought it was interesting that people were like criticizing that, because my take on it in the moment was, well, when you're thinking of iconic moments, that's one of them. And two, maybe having somebody play an Eddie Van Halen song would kind of defeat the purpose of honoring his talent, right? Because the idea of Eddie Van Halen is important because of his skill, right? That's why they played the clip that they did. And I think that as soon as you have somebody pick up that guitar and play it, you're basically saying like, oh, this person can do it too. That somehow downgrades Eddie Van Halen. I think the reason why they did it the way they did it was because they're saying, oh, only he could have done this. He's not with us anymore, so let's honor that.
So on Twitter, his son came out, Wolf Van Halen, and said that the Academy had asked him to play.
Yeah.
But he said that he didn't want to do it the way the Academy had pitched him, in which it would have been like him with other people doing a medley, and not
that would make sense
how they did it.
Because that's kind of what they did with everybody else. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
So
I don't blame him.
A standalone performance, which I think hit harder than had his son been up there playing with some other people.
I agree. Not to say that when they did actually do that, it wasn't. I actually thought that they were pretty good performances when they did do that.
Yes.
I think the standouts are Bruno Mars's Little Richard.
Little Richard
was really good. And I'm not really that big of a Bruno Mars person, but I still enjoyed it. I thought he did a good job. And Brittany Howard's performance was just wild. Of course, they kind of ruined that by then playing the commercial where she also sings that song. And I was just like, oh, that's rough. But yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think the performances were good.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. Even outside of the in memoriam stuff.
Bruno Mars's solo performance, I think that was pretty weak and may go down with him doing Gorilla at the Grammys.
You just reminded me of the song Gorilla, and now, I'm so mad.
You're welcome.
I remember when they were like, this is his new single, and I remember the first time I heard it, was like, what the hell is this?
I got the same vibe from this performance. So
yeah, to be honest, yes. So I agree with you. I enjoyed most of the performances here. The Silk Sonic stuff is not working for me. I don't get it. I thought the song was too long. I thought it was kind of boring. Not for me, I guess. I guess I could see how some people are like, oh, I want this thing to sound like it's 1976, but I don't need it to sound that much like 1976. Like, I don't know. It just seems unnecessary.
2020. But yeah, Bruno Mars did that earlier, though, with...
It's always been kind of his
always been his gimmick.
It's just that now he's taking it to the extra level and being like, hey, but what if we were a soul band from the 70s? Like, not just emulating them, but like, no, I want to cosplay as one. It's basically what this is. But everything else I thought really worked. Yeah. Haim rocks, and they killed that song.
I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because it literally stopped Ty in his tracks. He's like, who's this?
It's so good. That's the great thing about that record, is that you might not know what Haim was / is, and you put that song on, The Steps, and everybody's just like, huh. See, that's a version of bringing back a very 70s sound and modernizing it, I think. That's an example of, that guitar tone you don't really hear anymore, but they're able to do it in a way that seems new.
Yeah, he was walking through the living room and he literally stopped and just stared at the TV like, whoa, these chicks are pretty good. And like, yeah, they're Haim. Matt's been talking about them for like 7 years now.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't hurt that they're all very attractive. I mean...
Yes, that helps too.
So that might have been caught his eye as well. But anyway, besides the point, they're very talented. But yeah, I think that was a really early example.
Yeah, I think it was a good night for Haim, a good night for Dua Lipa's performance, and a really good night for Taylor Swift's performance.
Yeah, so, okay. I have a question to ask about the Taylor performance, because I'm seeing very varying takes on this thing. I thought it was good too. I thought it was like, she played the songs that mattered, in my opinion. She didn't play all of them. You know, you're not going to get everything.
You're not going to play all of them anyways.
The single from Evermore, even, just so you could have a little dash of that in there, even though it was not recognized. And yeah, like, I thought it was good, and it was like this dreamlike kind of storybook kind of thing for her, which is like fitting for the vibe of that record. But it seems like a lot of people have the take of like, oh, it was boring compared to the other performances. Oh, it seems stagey compared to the other performances. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a different vibe. And I think that's just the thing, is that Folklore as an album was a very different vibe than everything else that was nominated this year. And I think that performance kind of proved that. And yeah, the Dua Lipa thing I think was fun. I think she's at her best when she's energetic, though. I think the running joke on the internet is that she tends to perform by not giving a whole lot. And that certainly started this way when she was just in her puffy pink cloud, all comfy. But then eventually she got into it, and it was a whole lot of fun.
Yep. All right. And literally the last thing we're going to talk about the Grammys, and last thing we need to say about it, we said pretty much everything else about it.
Yeah.
Is the performance that basically has everyone divided on whether it was good or bad and what it kind of meant.
Yes. The thing that happened.
Yes. The reason we're saving this for last is because, one, I really don't want to dwell on it. So kind of needs to move on. But two, we're saving the best for last, because this is literally the one thing that people took away from the Grammys. And even if you didn't watch the Grammys,
this is going to be
a viral sensation
that is going to be talked about. Like, everybody's going to be like, hey, remember this Grammys? This is going to be the one thing everybody remembers.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
You can say it.
We got the explicit tag.
We got the explicit tag. You can say the name of the song.
All right. So, Wrench as pterodactyls.
Okay, so Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion performed. Oh, we haven't even talked about Megan. By the way, this was Megan Thee Stallion's night.
We did. We mentioned her for Best New Artist.
Why I kept bringing that up, because I was like, we're forgetting something big, and I know we're forgetting something big. It was Megan. Megan had a spectacular night. She won, not only like rap performance.
Yeah, rap performance.
Also,
she won
Best New Artist.
New Artist.
Yeah.
I said that.
I must have blacked out. But yeah, so yeah, she had a huge night. I mean, Billie Eilish spent her record of the year speech basically saying that it should be Megan's, which, yes, cute move, Billie, but it's been done before, one. And two, come on, you earned it. Just acknowledge it.
I mean, she already got everything she ever wanted.
I mean, yeah, that was the ironic part, is that the song is literally about being scared of fame being this all-encompassing monster in your life. And to then win a Grammy on that song, and then to basically be like, oh, but I didn't really like, this should be Megan Thee Stallions. Not a good look, Billie, just saying. If you don't want your song to win a Grammy, convince your label to not submit you for the Grammy. That's all I have to say. Anyway.
Anyways, Megan Thee Stallion
capped the night by having this performance with Cardi B, in which they performed WAP, or Wet Ass Pussy.
Oh, you find okay, yeah. See, I was never gonna say it.
The name of the song. And neither was CBS, because this was by far the most butchered, edited, full of gaps version of any song that I've ever seen premiered on any telecast ever. It was intelligible if you didn't know the original song.
I think they called it Wet Ass Purse.
They didn't even say ass. It was like wet. It was like syllables. It was like wet, wow, wow, or something like that. Because they know that they couldn't say anything close to what it actually is.
Right, but while they were too busy trying to censor their lyrics, they could not censor their dance moves. Because, as Beyonce said, grinding on it, grinding on it.
There was a lot of grinding. There was some scissoring being mimed. There was a lot of ass wiggle. There was a giant bed that was sometimes used.
There was a stiletto. That was a stripper pole.
Yep. There's a stripper pole attached to stiletto. Yeah, no, let's say that there's a certain segment of the Grammys audience that was enthralled by this thing, and there was a certain segment of the audience that was angry as shit over it, and we're still seeing the fallout on the Fox Newses of the world of people freaking out saying this filth was on network television. And then you have the other half of the world being like, I can't believe this filth was on network television. Rad. And it's interesting to see kind of the discourse that's past it. But my fascination with it was the editing. So it was interesting to see what their line was. Like, can you imagine being in the room with the people who had to decide what lyrics were okay and what lyrics were not? Because it seems like there's no consistency whatsoever. The line about using your nose to swipe like a credit card was included.
Yes.
But the line in the chorus that refers to a bucket and a mop to clean up, they censor the word bucket but not mop. Makes you think.
Yeah, the performance was really out there. I mean, someone basically asked Cardi B, "What can you do with the song?" And she went, "Huh, what can I do with this song?" And just went for it. And CBS was left out hanging with what they can censor, what they can't censor, and like you said, definitely made for some interesting conversation everywhere.
I enjoyed it. I'll be honest. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool to have them do a song like this on the Grammy stage. It's a huge song. They had to do it. It was one of the biggest singles of last year. To not do it would be to ignore that. I think that...
Well, to not do that would to instead invite The Weeknd to do Blinding Lights.
Yes, I realize, but still, I think it's cool that it happened. I really enjoyed it. Spectrum was doing its own kind of censorship, though, for me, because it just so happened that during that performance, my wired to the wall Ethernet connection decided to go in all buffer mode, and I could barely see what was happening on the screen the entire time.
Get that 90s connection?
Yeah, out of nowhere. And I don't usually get that with television, especially on my Apple TV, because it's Ethernet. And so I'm like, why now? Like, I can't see shit. So yeah, but that just my experience was not the norm, I don't think. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was perfect. I think that yes, there's still a lot of tone deaf decisions being made in the Grammys Academy. I think their attempt to convince you that things are changing also kind of fell pretty flat to me. So yeah, it's not a perfect Academy. It's not a perfect situation, not a perfect awards platform. That being said, I think they did a good job with what they had this year, and I enjoyed my time with it.
I liked it, and I'm curious to see how the other awards, meaning the Academy Awards, which we'll talk about later,
yes,
will incorporate this kind of indoor-outdoor setting and into future awards.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Maybe the road noise not so much. I mean, more than once you heard like a loud motorcycle or a helicopter interrupt a speech or two. But besides that, it wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm. And it was very nice to get the different venues from across the U.S.
I agree,
present awards.
It was nice to see that shout out to the Troubadour. I was like, I've been there.
Yep.
Anyway.
Anyways, that's all we have to see about the Grammys. Our long-winded 25-30 minute talk about
why we front-loaded this half of the show. That's all I have to say, because we knew it was going to go long.
Oh, yeah. But we have one album to talk about still.
Yeah, I forgot this existed until earlier today when I saw somebody tweet about it, and I was like, oh, I guess I probably should have listened to this. But I don't know. You tell me, should I have listened to Nick Jonas's Spaceman?
Warning, your mileage may vary on Nick Jonas and Spaceman.
Okay.
So, much like, Nick Jonas got married and put out an album. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yes.
As we've seen this before.
Okay, you paused for reaction. I'm like, yes, it is.
I paused for your reaction because, our favorite album, Golden Hour, was exactly that. Casey Musgraves got married, put out an album, and won Album of the Year.
It's a well-worn tradition, you could say.
So, when I say Nick Jonas got married, put out an album, you're going to get the exact same kind of cutout, which is a lot of love songs, a lot of dedicated songs, a lot of emotions in the songs, and a lot of heartfelt songs.
You could probably make a good playlist out of marital bliss records. I think that's what you could you could put that in. I don't know. As somebody who is currently in marital bliss, what did you think about it?
It was super easy listening, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
So, this album is very, very easy to listen to. I listened to it twice. Second time by accident because I didn't realize that it started over.
So not on your own volition. It just gotta happen to you. Hey, just like marriage.
Well, no, it did. I mean, I just hit like play again, and it's like, okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm starting over, I guess. But
Yeah.
then like the deluxe version with like the 3 extra bonus tracks came out. I was like, I'll put that on again. Sure, let me listen to the new bonus stuff. But overall, the album itself is pretty good, but it's also pretty safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to pin down what exactly Nick Jonas sounds like because he is a chameleon of voices, and his tone and
Voice chameleon.
style very easily mimic other artists who have honed their craft.
Mm-hmm.
Naming the aforementioned The Weeknd,
Mm-hmm.
naming Michael Jackson, naming even Bruno Mars in some of this. That a lot of this album does sound like he's trying to sound like other artists on this album, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when you're riffing from the best, but it is bad when you don't provide any unique style to it, any of your own influence on it.
Yeah.
That being said, it's very easy to listen to. I listened to it with the doctor as we went golfing, and it's a really quick listen. We went through the whole album, and I think it's only like 35 minutes. And like the whole album was just, oh, this is just a really nice album. Listen to it front to back. It's a good album. Doesn't quite stand out as like the star-studded love album that Golden Hour was. Then again, nothing really is going to compare to that.
Kind of hard to do that.
But every song on this definitely had that hint of love and new love and fresh love and all my love for you thrown throughout it. So it's a good album in that aspect, and definitely a recommend for easy listening, easy long drive listens. Not necessarily going to show up on my album of the year.
No.
But I didn't really expect that out of Nick Jonas. I did expect an easy listen to, and that's what Spaceman is.
Okay.
A really nice, safe album to put on. Dare I say, mom album?
Yeah, I could see that.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'll have to give it a try. But yeah, I definitely think it's hard when you're an act like that, especially an act that has its origination in a group. I think it's really hard to set out as your own. I think the members of One Direction are also going through this kind of identity crisis. Harry Styles is really the only one that's been able to break the mold and have his own kind of image and style. And I don't know if Nick's quite there. And to listen to you talk about this, maybe he hasn't gotten there yet. It's like he's so busy emulating his heroes that he's not quite an independent voice yet, but maybe he'll get there.
He did pull double duty 2 weeks ago on SNL.
Yeah, I didn't watch that, but I heard it was okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you it's okay, so you heard it's okay.
I've heard that, yes. Okay, well, cool. So is that a recommend, do you think?
It's a recommend because it is an easy listening to album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this can easily be a background album, as I've talked about before, where you put it on and it's like, oh yeah, I didn't realize this in the background, but I kind of like what's going on there.
Yeah. That's good.
What was it? Like shopping mall music?
Sure, yes.
Maybe not quite shopping mall
music. In a time where we can't have shopping mall music, that might be good to hear for some people. Okay. Yeah,
easy listening to.
Well, in that case, I do actually have to say I did listen to that Drake thing, but we already talked about those songs, and honestly, I don't remember anything about any of them, so I don't have anything to say about it. It's Drake. I don't know. If you like Drake, listen to it.
So I guess the lemon pepper wasn't that spicy then?
No, I don't remember anything except he does say the word lemon pepper somewhere in that freestyle, but I don't remember in what context. I think he's might be ordering some chicken.
Well, what's next?
I don't remember anything about what's next either.
Do you remember anything?
What's next on the podcast?
His wants and needs?
Who can say? Let's move on. And in a rare moment, we flip it to me.
Yeah, we flip this to you.
Television.
Talk about TV.
So we always start television with the sports corner, and it's no different this week. Let's scroll up to the sports corner here. And let me type the words sports corner.
Right. And while you do that, let me just start by saying that today, yes, starting today, the NFL free agency period has begun.
Yes. So
what does that mean, Matt?
It means that the free agency people are going to get picked up by teams.
Yes, it means players can officially be signed.
Yes. Okay.
So any like contracts that we've previously either talked about between the end of the Super Bowl and now can now finally be finalized.
I'm starting to think that doing this podcast with me has just been a long con for you to get me into sports.
I am not either confirming nor denying that.
Because it's almost worked.
A lot more about sports now than you did.
Because it's almost worked. That's the crazy thing. It's been so like subconscious. I didn't even realize it was happening. Anyway, let's talk about the sports corner on that note. First up, also in NFL news, one of the greats, well, maybe not so great in recent years, but one of the players we used to call great has officially retired. And that, of course, is Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. He has the most career passing yards ever at 80,358, most career pass completions at 7,142, most consecutive games with a touchdown pass, 54, and the highest single season completion percentage, 74.4%, most pass completions in a season, 471, most 5,000 yard passing seasons, a total of 5. He's now retired, though, no longer be playing the game. Drew Brees, a legend.
Yes, the legend Drew Brees. Of course, not officially his name.
That's
what we call him.
It's what we call him. Drew Brees is who we're talking about, for those who are not in our weird world of every football player has to have a nickname. I still wish you had that picture of that whiteboard. That was
I have it somewhere.
It's somewhere.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, I think when he was at his peak, he was a real fun player to watch.
Yep. My favorite memory of Drew Brees is the day he got let go from the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
And got shipped off to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Because that was 2006.
Yeah.
And actually, fun fact, the day he announced his retirement was the 15-year anniversary of him signing with the Saints.
Yeah. It's interesting that he had such a storied career in New Orleans that I actually totally had forgotten that he played at San Diego originally, which is crazy because I remember that was also a big deal. And so, yeah, he's always been kind of a player that a lot of people have had their eyes on.
Yep. That 2005, 2006 draft class, which for those of you who don't know, the reason Drew Brees was basically forced out of San Diego was because they decided to move ahead with Phillip Rivers, his replacement, who was drafted by the New York Giants at the time in a famous trade swap with the quarterback that the San Diego Chargers decided to draft, Eli Manning. That's how he ended up on the Giants, how Phillip Rivers ended up from the Giants to the Chargers, and how Drew Brees ended up from the Chargers to New Orleans.
And what a history that all of those players made.
Yep.
It would shape the league.
Note that both of those players had retired before Drew Brees decided to retire.
Right. But you know what? He was trying. The Saints got pretty close, but just no dice. He just can't throw like he used to.
I mean, especially in those last couple of games, you saw he wasn't throwing anything past 20 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he just knew that his time was done.
Yeah, but what he's done for the city of New Orleans, I mean, bringing a championship to it and playing in the Superdome that literally housed thousands of people from post-Katrina. Just forever a legend.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that statue to be erected there.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Instantly.
So, yeah. Goodbye, Drew Brees, our favorite football player.
Yep. Now, who is the oldest football player in the NFL?
Is it not Tom Brady?
It is indeed.
It is
not Tom Brady.
Not Tom Brady. Is it a kicker? I feel like it's always a kicker because they're allowed to get old.
Yes, it is a kicker.
Hey, I knew that. Okay, who? Tell me. Enlighten me.
Enlighten you.
Yeah.
It is none other than former Packers kicker, former Colts kicker, current free agent because he has not signed with a team, Adam Vinatieri.
He's still playing?
The reason I say that is because he's still technically a free agent because he has not signed any retirement papers.
Wow. Haven't you been calling him Old Man Vinatieri for like the last 10 years?
Yes, I think the nickname on the board is Old Man Vinatieri.
And you've been calling him that for like the last decade. He's only getting older.
Yeah, but he is not officially filed for retirement. So,
just to show you.
Therefore, he is still technically available in free agency should anyone want to pick him up. And technically the oldest player.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay.
That being said, yes, Tom Brady would then be the second oldest. And both of them
retiring, apparently.
Both of those players are the only players left born in the 1970s.
Wow. That's wild.
Yep. Considering that an NFL career usually doesn't last longer than 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we're looking at literal millennials.
Yeah.
Not millennials, Gen Z, whatever, 2000, anyone born past 2000 entering the league?
I think the
this year
cutoff
it'll be this year, 21.
Yeah. I want to
this
say usually people say the cutoff is about like 96.
Well, I'm talking about like actual your birth year begins with a 2.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely Zoomers. In that case, we'll get there. But I think it seems like it's a mostly millennial with like a little Zoomer quotient at the end there.
Right. I'm not sure if last year's draft class or this year's draft class will include the bulk of those who were birthdays start with a 2,
which is wild. We're gonna get to post 9/11 football players here.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other category there.
Thing. Anyway, let's move on because we have other sports to talk about that aren't football, but football does linger in its postseason absence.
Yep. And once like all these quarterback decisions get made, we'll have a breakdown when that happens of who went where, because that is very fascinating to me.
Yeah, but the biggest, of course, sports story that's a rumbling right now is because, hey, check your calendars. It's March. Time to get mad. And the NCAA tournament bracket has been set. And here are the number 1 seeded teams. Gonzaga, which I know is pronounced Gonzaga because I heard somebody say that way on television. It blew my mind. I was like, that's how you say that? That sounds wrong.
How are you going to say it? Gonzaga?
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Good old Gonzaga. Who has a 26-0 record right now, which is pretty impressive. Illinois, Michigan, and Baylor. So those are the ones to look for in the bracket.
We mentioned that it's 26-0 because no team since I think 1976 has been ranked number 1 in preseason, gone on to win the NCAA tournament, but also not since then has any team gone undefeated to win the tournament.
So if they're able to pull that off, there's quite a historical season for them.
It'd be a 50-year drought, 40-year drought in NCAA tournament.
Impressive.
That undefeated team has ever happened.
Then meanwhile, we have the win.
They are definitely going to lose.
Yeah, and that means that's a safe bet to make.
Pencil in that upset right now. That means I got to fill out my bracket for tomorrow too.
Yeah, you got to fill out your bracket. Get your bracket ready. Speaking of brackets, the women are also playing, and the NCAA tournament bracket has also been set. Here are their number 1 seed teams: Connecticut, Stanford, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So,
Connecticut, affectionately known as the Women of UConn, the Huskies. Always a top seeded, always favored. They have a great program there. Same with the Stanford women basketball team.
Yeah. So A lot of basketball. So a lot of college basketball to watch. So get ready if that is your thing, because there's going to be plenty of it.
Those games begin tomorrow for us as of this recording on Thursday, and will continue until the first week of April.
Yes.
Until champion is crowned. Until there is one.
Yes. Until there is one. Until what is it? The shining moment.
Yes. One shining moment.
One shining moment gets sung. It's not over until one shining moment gets sung. You know, you've told me about the manly man tears for the last 5 years doing this.
Manly man tears.
So we'll get there. But before we do, baseball is hurtling closer and closer to opening day, and we are learning more and more about seat capacity in stadiums. Seems like the league doesn't have any sort of restrictions, as individual areas are making their own choices about how many people they're letting in. Here, local, the story is that there will be fans in attendance at local games, but it will be a portion and not full capacity.
Right, because every state and every county for each of these stadiums has different restrictions.
And in this case,
brings us to Texas.
Some places are opting for no restrictions whatsoever, which not surprising in Texas, considering that their own governor pretty much waved the white flag about a couple weeks ago and said anything goes now. And so that's the approach that the Texas stadiums are having in the MLB. 100% capacity for opening day over there. So if you want to go to a baseball game and / also get COVID, you can go and attend opening day in Texas.
Note that this is for the Texas Rangers in Arlington. They will be at 100% capacity. I did not see anything about the Houston Astros, because I'm sure they need less fans in order to hear trash can banging.
Yeah. But I would assume, though, that if you're Houston and if you're involved in the operations of that stadium, you're going to probably see the lucrativeness of those ticket sales, and
you're
probably
want to push for 100%. Yes,
and probably also just go for it. I would not be surprised if you see all sports in Texas adopt this, except for the ones where it's league mandated, like hockey.
Yep.
So get ready for that. It's also important to note that if you're thinking that, oh wow, the vaccine percentage must be pretty high over there, the answer is no, it is not, and they're doing it anyways. So keep that in mind when you watch those full capacity games, and just be happy it's not you.
Yep, that's why I won't be going until I get vaccinated, which currently my schedule is looking at a ... eventually.
Yes, exactly.
TBD.
Kind of where I'm at too. So we'll see what happens.
Or I'm currently on the Justin Timberlake process.
Which is?
It's gonna be May. All right, moving on.
May 1st. Yep, and the floodgates open for everybody. Thanks, Biden. I got my Biden bucks today. I don't know if you did.
I did as well this morning.
I was like, cool. I paid off my car.
Savings.
Paid off my car, so that happened. Anyways.
Very nice.
Anyways, let's move on. Also, I'm probably going to donate some causes. Oh, I should have probably said this at the beginning of the show, but it's our duty here at the Media Boat Podcast to stay up on current events, and I just want to mention so that we mention it and kind of do our public duty. Our hearts go out to the families of the people who were lost in the killings, the murders that happened last night in several massage parlors in Atlanta. It seems like this is a part of a growing stigma against elderly Asian people and Asian people of all sorts. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. Donate to causes if you can. There's a lot of active causes, including, I believe it's called Red Canary Song, that are raising money for Asian communities. Go out there and support, and and call it what it is. These are racist hate crimes, and it's messed up that this is something that still happens with regularity here in the U.S. So yeah, just want to say our heart goes out to the victims, the families of the victims, and that try to do what you can to stay aware. All right, let's move on to television news. And we always start, well, we don't always start, but we have the blessing of starting with some streaming bits for you. The bits.
So none of these bits were actually big. I mean, some of them were probably big enough for a big story, but there were just so many of them. We're going to
throw it all into one. Yeah. First up in the streaming bits, Netflix is doing something that I'm sure a lot of people will hate and think very controversial of. They are going to start cracking down on password sharing. Supposedly, the screen that will show if you are one of those shared accounts will say, quote, if you don't live with the owner of this account, you need your own account to keep watching, and probably send you to a sign-up screen. So it looks like this is a result of them actually researching and developing technology that can track a shared account. It involves IP. There's already companies that do this. Spotify's home sharing actually will track your location. You opt into it when you sign up for the family. And if you are not residing at the same address, they will sometimes send you a thing basically saying, hey, can you remind us what your address is? And that is their way of kind of ensuring. So what I will say is this is probably their version of that. And what I will also say is it's probably very easy to fudge. So I don't think that we should get worried about this quite yet. The Spotify thing is really easy to ignore. It never came up when we were using it. So I think that until the technology gets scarily accurate, which is not yet, this is a future problem. Netflix can try
a slow rollout,
right?
So
Netflix can try.
People are experiencing this right now.
I just do not think that this is going to get to the point where they're able to know immediately quite yet. So, but just keep it on your radar, I guess, is what I'll say, is that these companies will try eventually. But this is also an avenue for Netflix to introduce family plans. And I would not be surprised if by this time next year, they have one in place.
Yeah, it seems weird that they don't have family plan. I mean, they know they have accounts to set up within it, but...
And they have multiple screens in there. It's up to 4, I believe, for the upper tier.
Yes.
But still, I don't know. I don't know why they're trying to police when it really doesn't affect their business. But
well, once they see their new subscribers start to like flatline, that's when they're gonna have to like try and kick it back up.
Yeah. But to solve that problem, they should be thinking about their content, not about who's sharing their password. But
new random content every Friday.
Yeah, I wish. No, just let me have a random button for a single show. That's all I want. Let me have a random button for a single show. And that goes for every streaming service. All of you, do that. It was the one thing I missed from when The Simpsons were on the FX Now app. I just want a random button. Yep. That's all I want. Anyway. Next streaming bit, Peacock. Apparently only generated $118 million for the year 2020, which lost Comcast an estimated $914 million. It is in the red, folks.
That's not a good business model.
Not yet. But that's the thing, is it's year one of Peacock. If I'm Comcast, I'm not freaking out yet because just like the conversation we had about HBO, it takes some time for streaming services to get their legs and to get rolling. It takes time for anything. And I think that Peacock is an interesting position because it has a free tier. So they also have to be like, yes, we have a certain number of people that are watching our shows, but we have to remember that not everybody is paying for them.
Right, but even Disney Plus had its own slow rollout from the first month.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Mandalorian came around and got people to sign back up for season 2 that by then people were like subscribing for the whole year.
Yeah. So I wouldn't count Peacock out yet. I think there's still a time. There's still time for it to get its Mandalorian. Maybe the wrestling rollout is the thing that gets them a little bump. We'll see how it goes for them.
Speaking of wrestling rollout and Peacock, this weekend you can watch Fastlane on Peacock.
Oh, Fastlane.
Because I've seen those ads constantly now.
Not to be confused with Fastlane. Not to be confused with Fastlane, the drama that ran on Fox in the 2000s. Remember Fastlane?
No, I was just getting fast past Fastlane.
The other thing I will say about Peacock is if the Olympics happen, if they tie that into a Peacock subscription, that could be very lucrative and that could be the bump they need too. So we'll see.
Right. We've also seen how Peacock is forming the EU League, the European Soccer League, and the NHL bits that they have into Peacock as well.
Yeah.
As well as NASCAR into USA, as well as Peacock, or as well as WWE. They're slowly going to start competing directly with ESPN in terms of streaming sports.
So anyways, what we're trying to say here is I think that these numbers seem scary, but Peacock is a work in progress. And if all of these things hit the way that NBC wants them to, I think we'll have a different story come 2022. But I'm no expert. Who knows? And we'll find out, I guess, when we get there.
Right. And let's not forget that even though $914 million loss sounds like a lot, it is. NBC Universal, parent company, generated $27.2 billion for the year.
And that's just the entertainment division. When you consider they're owned by Comcast, the biggest telecommunications company in the world, they don't have nothing to worry about. That's like a small slice of the pie when you're thinking about how much money they're
worth. 1% of revenue for them.
So they're willing to take whatever time it takes to bake Peacock enough to make it the thing they want it to be.
I think they will have that eventually. It's just how long you're going to wait eventually for.
Yeah. And speaking of eventually, HBO Max is already getting to that eventually because they're trying to speed run the process as fast as they can. We already talked about their kind of leap from being in the red into maybe some profit and this move with movies premieres that they've done. And here's another move that they're hoping that attaches some new subscribers. They're going to do a Peacock and launch a cheaper ad-supported tier in June. Their goal by 2025 is to up their subscriber target from 120 to 150 million subscribers. And this is part of the path to getting there. Do you think that a cheaper tier will help?
I think so. I think, it definitely helps. I think it's helping Peacock with its numbers. I believe that, there's a lot of good stuff on HBO Max.
Yeah. And
it's going to be weird to see where they place those ads on HBO programs that don't have regular commercial breaks.
I would guess, here's my guess.
You'd put it in the front and
here's my guess is that I think that what you do is, and I think a lot of the ad-supported versions of these services do the same thing, which is it's very dependent on the thing you're watching. Like Hulu is like this, where it's like some of the networks mandate that there are regular ads during their stuff. Basically, they make no difference between the Hulu version of their thing and the video-on-demand version. Some are more lenient. So I think you're going to see it tiered by not just the subscription tier that you're at, but what you're watching. So yeah, I agree. The HBO content, you're probably going to get served like 4 ads at the beginning, 4 ads at the end. For the network shows, you're probably going to get ads during ad breaks. For like 3, for the 2-act kid shows, you're probably going to get ads stuffed before, middle, end. So it's going to depend on what you're watching, I think.
See, I'm not sure because I don't pay for ads. I try to do my best to avoid them as much as I can.
I mean, now I'm at a point where I'm not paying any service for ads right now, but I've watched enough streaming with ads to know that's basically how it works at this point. So yeah, I would not be surprised. I mean, even Paramount has this. Like Paramount launched with this tiering, where there is a ad-supported cheaper version and a no ads more expensive version. So it does make sense that HBO would be adapting this because it's now the norm. Everybody but Disney and Netflix are doing it this way.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, wait, Disney's doing it through Hulu though.
I mean, yes, but you know what I mean. Disney Plus is not doing it.
Yes.
But yeah, Hulu was the first one to do it this way. And so, yeah, they kind of were the trendsetter.
Which is kind of why people are kind of expecting it though.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney Plus has topped 100 million subscribers worldwide. This is up from the 94.9 million they reported last month. CEO Bob Chapek also announced 100 plus new titles per year across all its brands. He also mentioned that eventually ESPN Plus will be embedded into Hulu for ease between platforms. So basically, I guess if you're a subscriber to both, this is similar to the way that you can bake HBO and Showtime into Hulu.
Yes.
Is it'll exist as an app within Hulu, so that way you're not backing out to go into a different app. That's what they eventually want to do
here. Yep. Makes sense, especially since Disney offers the triple play bundle, as they call it, for Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Just to roll it into one.
Congratulations to that 100 millionth subscriber. I'm sure you're getting Disney Plus for a year for free because of it.
No, probably not.
No, you're not, because it's Disney.
Not. No, you're definitely not getting anything for it.
But hey, 100 million in 2 years.
Yeah, not bad.
Pretty good.
Of course, they had kind of an advantage because they're literally Disney.
Hey, so, everyone starts somewhere. Every streaming service starts with 0 subscribers.
Yeah. Next up, we move to Fox. No, not the one you're thinking, the one that's now rolled into Disney. No, the one that's still Fox. The Fox that owns all the news networks. They're called Fox Corporation, and they still exist, unfortunately, to everyone. Their free streaming service that they own, called Tubi, which I'm sure you've heard of, along with a bunch of other services that are similarly named that all do the same thing.
Pluto TV, I think.
Yeah, Pluto does the same thing. There was another one that Christy was telling me about that her parents clued in on, and it had also a really stupid short name, and they described what it was to her, and she's like, wait a minute, that's just Tubi. But anyways, Tubi is going to start funding original programs with discussions of spending to be as much as $4 million an episode. So Tubi's making a play. The free streamer has 33 million subscribers so far and will make $300 million in ad revenue through reruns and old films, which is mostly what you get on there. So yeah, chances are you can download the Tubi app on any device that you own right now and check it out. It's a wasteland of literally nothing. So funneling money into original programming at least can make stuff interesting, potentially.
Right, but it's a wasteland of nothing new. If you just want to binge old stuff, it's there.
Yeah, but it's weird. So these things seem to operate on a classic television format, which means here's a fat cable style guide of all these things that are playing, and they just play on loop. And there's channels that are about whatever the hell that they can get channels for. There's a channel on these services that is the Bob Ross channel, and all it does is show Bob Ross painting things in loops forever.
Yep. Peacock does this with its channels.
Peacock kind of incorporated a version of this, but the stuff that's available on the Tubis and Plutos and the Roku TVs of the world is just a wasteland. So yeah, I don't know what Fox is trying to do here, but maybe they can make Tubi relevant, but I have a feeling that they can't.
I don't know, but if you want to pitch something for a streaming network, Fox Corp will throw $4 million an episode at you.
Woo! I mean, that's a brisk chunk of change. I'm still not going to do that.
If we want to make our pitch to Fox Corp of paying us to broadcast, I mean, we have episodes in the can that they can play on loop.
That's true. I mean, Christy and I do have a pitch for an animated series, so maybe I will. Anyway, I'll consider it. Anyways, that'll do it for the streaming bits. We have one more news story for y'all for television.
One quick news story, because the main news story is the thoughts we have. Right.
We'll get there, but first, it's that time of the season where we're getting a little bit of a refresh on the SNL season and learning what the upcoming hosts and musical guests will be. Fresh off their Academy Award nominations, which we'll get to in the next segment, Daniel Kaluuya and Carey Mulligan will be making their debuts on SNL. Kaluuya will be hosting April 3rd with musical guest St. Vincent, who of course will be promoting her 7th studio album recently announced called Daddy's Home, out May 14th. Carey Mulligan will host the following week, April 10th, with musical guest Kid Cudi, which, believe it or not, even after all of those Kanye West appearances, somehow is making his first time appearing on the show. I guess he didn't perform with Kanye in any of those circumstances. This will be the show's return since February 27th, the aforementioned show with Nick Jonas. So yeah, they just took a little brief break, and they'll be back with these Oscar-nominated stars.
And good for them, getting their SNL spotlight. I'd say spotlight and sunshine and spot in the sun. It's just all mashed together in my head.
Yep, kind of did. With that out of the way, now it's time to talk about thoughts. You watched quite a lot of television. I didn't watch any of this outside the Grammys, so Tell me about your adventures in television.
Adventures in TV land. Not that TV land.
Not on TV land. There's nothing.
Not
there,
on TV land. So we want to talk about the Grammys. We can cross that off the list here.
Exactly. What else?
What else? Briefly mentioned, I don't know if I briefly mentioned it last week on the podcast, but Jeopardy is now currently in its full rotation of guests.
Yes.
2-week period stints. 2-week guest stints. Katie Couric is this current, she started last Monday. This will be her final end of 2 weeks. The cumulative toll of what people get, of what people earn, will be donated to the guest host's charity, in which case for Katie Couric, I think is the Breast Cancer Foundation.
Okay.
But I like her as a guest. I think I talked about this last week, real briefly. I like her as a guest host. She has that really nice, soothing voice when she says the answers, to provide the questions. I'm not sure who they have next lined up. I think it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta of CNN.
Maybe.
I believe he's the next guest host, but currently you will be getting a new guest host every 2 weeks starting at this point. So Jeopardy will just be a carousel of rotating guests in and out. It's going to look like a box of chocolates. You never know who you're going to get.
They love to rotate. They're just up there spinning just the whole time.
Yep.
I think the people who have history as being news anchors, I think, are always good because they're used to reading off a teleprompter, and they have a very, like, as you said, like their speaking style is very like clear, concise, and it's comfortable to listen to because that's what they do for a living. So yeah, Katie's been in the business for a long time.
Yep. And as I mentioned with Ken Jennings, you do a surprisingly amount of talking that you don't
really talking.
Quite notice you did with Alex Trebek, because it's just so very rote for him that you just, okay, here's the clue. He's just reading it. He's reading every single one of these. It's something that I've started to notice more since they've been doing these guest hosts, but it's gonna be really interesting once this season, which I think they're just gonna stick with guest host for this whole season. So we're not gonna really talk about Jeopardy hosts as much anymore following this.
Right.
Until we get to Aaron Rodgers, which I'm sure is going to be hilarious.
Excited. Very excited. All right. What else on the television adventure?
So last Wednesday was the South Park special. Emphasis on the park, as they mentioned that it would be a QAnon special and a vaccine special. So if you watched the pandemic special that they did.
I did not.
I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to you, the listener.
You know that I didn't.
I know that you didn't. But if you watched the South Park pandemic special, expect the same kind of nonsensory, outlandish aspect of this South Park Q special.
You know what you're getting. Yeah.
You pretty much know what you're getting. But at the same time, they're still on the top of their game. They do poke fun at themselves, at their animation style, and at basically anything they can and will that's going on in current news. I'm not sure if they're going to keep this going on, these hour-long specials like every other month, it seems. But I kind of like the way they're doing it. It seems kind of fun. And you get these like bombs, these 1 hour bomb episodes, special episodes. I won't say between regular episodes because there are no regular episodes currently going on. But it's kind of fun because it kind of hypes up the fun that is South Park, and Comedy Central will air the endless stream that they have of cataloged South Park episodes leading up to it because like, oh yeah, I remember watching these episodes, or hey, I never watched these episodes. Let's see what they're riffing on this week. So it's kind of fun. It's a fun episode. If you watch the pandemic special, you know what you're getting. Otherwise, it's South Park riffing on current events.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of what they've been doing, what their existence is based on at this point. And it's very much either you buy into it or you're just annoyed by it. It seems like you're one of two people, I think.
Right, either you grew out of it and
Yeah,
it's no longer
exactly.
funny, or it's still funny to you because they're, like I said, they're riffing off current events, which you also may or may not find hilarious.
Right.
But
Your
yeah, their
mileage
style
may
of
vary.
writing is still
Yeah.
very on point. Your mileage may
Yeah,
vary.
this is like your mileage may vary the show, like at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's
Because
definitely
everyone has
not.
that like cutoff point with South Park. Like you watched it like when you were young, at some point you just kind of stopped watching it, but you still always go back to those episodes.
Yeah, it's almost like at one point we would have said like, "Hey, maybe it's not your thing, then don't watch it." But at this point, I feel like there's so many people that it's not their thing that now it's like, maybe if it is your thing, if you're in that niche that still will be entertained by this, hey, go for it, I guess.
Yep.
They're making it for you and no one else. I mean,
They
really,
know
they're making it
exactly
for
who they're
themselves.
making it for too.
They're making it for themselves, and it just so happens that there's some people like them.
Yep.
Anyways, that's not it.
All right. Do we want to talk about the alien, or the Allen?
I don't know.
Let me make that joke.
You tell me.
All right. Let's start with the one I'm going to get out of the way first because I want to talk about these other two in depth. NBC is jumping back into long form storytelling drama.
Okay.
With Debris. Now, this falls into a long line of sci-fi lightning in a bottle we want to capture. We don't know what's currently going on. Mystery box shows. Okay. This kind of thing started with Heroes, and because Heroes was such a success of mystery box show that, hey, we kind of want to take this and recreate that lightning in the bottle magic that we had. We saw them do this with the Alfonso Cuarón show, whatever that was called.
Yeah, which everyone's forgotten existed. Yep.
I just remember that he was attached to it.
Yep.
This is another one of those where mysterious events has happened and it's a mystery show every week. But the premise does not make a whole lot of sense when you think about it for more than 2 seconds. So, the show starts off with a title card that says
Debris.
No, it says 4 months ago. It's already establishing this.
Okay.
On screen in letters. It's a tell not showing aspect, which I hate. It's saying 4 months ago, a mysterious alien spacecraft exploded in Earth's atmosphere, or in space. Only now, 4 months later, is the debris starting to fall to Earth.
Okay.
Hence the name
Debris.
So it's up to these two different agents, one from MI6, one from the CIA, to investigate these fallen debris phenomenons, as they're calling them, and not only collect the debris, but kind of figure out how it works and what's causing it and what they do. So every week, much like Heroes, you had new power. And much like Fringe, new mystery of the week that you have to kind of solve. And hopefully it will all link to this bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my problem with it, though. If alien technology, supposedly from the exact same spaceship, is falling to Earth, how is it magically making all this stuff happen? Because if you take, say, our spaceship and it falls to Earth, metal is supposed to somehow move a person through story wall buildings. Metal is supposed to somehow communicate and bring people back from the dead. A metal, or apart from a spaceship, is supposed to be cloning people.
It's magic alien metal.
And that's my problem with it. It's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's magic alien technology, which we can do whatever we want with it.
Exactly.
Because it's all nonsensical.
It's a show where
it is nonsensical.
It's a show where magic things have fallen from the sky and solve everybody's problems.
But there's a bigger conspiracy because people are back from the dead. So there's got to be a reason for it, right? Manifest was the other one. Twins.
Manifest.
That one.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like all these shows want to be Lost so bad.
Yes. I don't want to say Lost, but yes, mystery boxes galore with Lost.
But the problem with Lost is that Lost didn't even stick the landing on that shit. Everybody remembers the first season of Lost and has written out the rest of Lost in their minds. They just have this amorphous idea of prestige mystery show in their head, and they try it over and over and over again, but they always have the same problem, is that they don't make sense.
Right. I mean, even Lost went into time traveling by season 4, they got off the island and then had to go back to the island, and then they time traveled on the island, and no one could explain why until the very end was like, oh, they were dead the whole time. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Sorry, spoiler alert for Lost, a 15-year-old show at this point. But yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I get why they keep trying it, but it's like eventually we get a good one of these, right? Someday.
I don't know, but even like I said, lightning in the bottle heroes, right? It's just X-Men.
It had the same problem where it's like initially everybody was like, whoa, this is doing something that nobody's done before, and then it just dropped off so steep off a cliff that everybody stopped caring.
Right, and some of that had to do with the writers' strike in 2008.
Yeah, that's true. There was elements working against it, certainly, but still.
But still, like, even then, when they got into its later seasons, you had to ratchet up the drama overarch for each season that eventually it became nonsensical, ridiculous.
Right.
And it's hard when you start off that way. Where
you're saying that Debris is already ridiculous, so it can't get much more ridiculous. It's just going to be that show already.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't watch Debris is what I'm gathering from this.
Please cancel it soon.
Yes. Okay. So one season show, is your money on one season show for this one?
Yes, but then again, I said the Blacklist would be a 2-season show.
You also said the same thing for Manifest, and we were wrong. I think that got 2, right?
I think he got. I'm not sure if it got a 3rd, but I know it got a 2nd season.
Definitely got a 2nd season. So yeah, I don't know. Jury's out. Maybe we should not bet on those, because in the pandemic year, all bets are off, because they will extend things that shouldn't be extended. Because they don't have anything else.
That's another thing that's pretty good about this show, probably surviving the pandemic year, is that the 2 main characters are the only ones who are not really protected that are walking around. Everyone else that they have in the government body that they associate with when they go on scene to these places are all protected. They're all wearing like the hazmat suit, the gloves, and everything, except for like the one person in charge who they're communicating with. So you can keep production costs low because of that, because everyone is being protected.
Right. So you don't have to deal with a whole lot of people or extras.
Right. You just have your main people, like your 2 mains, and then the guest of the week, like the 2 guests of the week that you have come on. The one person experiencing the phenomena, and the other person who's either reacting to it, either got sucked into it, or is a part of the body that they're like the expert field that they've brought in.
Yeah.
So it's a very easy show, not easy show because it's very CG heavy, but in terms of filming it, it's a very easy show to film in terms of a pandemic.
So ultimately,
you don't need a whole lot of cast of characters.
So it sounds like a show that probably does have a future practically, but in your opinion, probably should not have a future.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, speaking of things that have a future or not a career, let's talk about the rest of the things you watched.
So let's talk about other alien technology. Resident Alien.
Resident Alien.
I did not plan on watching this.
Okay.
I saw that Alan Tudyk.
Yes, Tudyk.
Yeah, his birthday was the other day, and it was, oh, hey,
Happy
Alan
birthday.
Tudyk is not only his birthday, but promoting his show Resident Alien on TBS, which
of course he's
I've seen
Pisces.
commercials of.
I could see it.
I've seen commercials of Resident Alien. I was like, oh, interesting concept. Alien needs to is stranded here on Earth and is trying to fit in.
Okay.
Interesting concept, kind of basic. Makes sense.
Alan Tudyk is Alf.
Yes. Alan Tudyk is Alf. Alan Tudyk is not hidden behind a CGI character, an animated voice.
Yeah, I just gave you an episode title. You can thank me later.
Incorporate Grammys in there somewhere.
Anyways,
so Alan Tudyk himself.
The power of Alan Tudyk made you knock over your mic.
Yes.
Wow.
So he himself is a doctor in this world, but an alien crash lands on Earth and overtakes his body.
Huh?
But he's in like the remote parts of Colorado.
Sure.
But then the town doctor, the only doctor in town, mysteriously dies. And so they bring in him from his cabin in the woods, a literal cabin in the woods, to be the town doctor. And now the alien in an Alec Tudyk suit must be the doctor and interact with society and pass as a human.
So it's an alien show in a fish out of water show mold, and that's where the comedy comes from. I'm assuming this is a comedy.
Yes, this is definitely a comedy. It's actually one of the funny ones too.
What is this airing on? Where is this?
TBS.
This is a TBS thing? Okay, it sounds cable-y. That makes sense.
But I believe, but I watched it on Peacock. So Peacock has it.
Well, that actually, I was going to say that makes sense, but no, that's a Turner thing. That should be HBO. All bets are off at this point with the streaming stuff. I don't know what rights end up where, but anyway.
Right. So anyways, I decided to watch it on a whim, and I got through the first 3 episodes with ease because it's that funny.
Okay.
And it's that good. It's well written. It's well acted. Definitely Alan Tudyk is a very standout character in this because, one, you're playing an alien on Earth, but also the writing in it and the interactions that he has with other people are very alien-like. So anything that seems abnormal or could be considered a mistake is done on purpose. And if you can execute that on a comedic level, you have something really special on your hands. And that's what Resident Alien is. It's something really special.
I mean, sounds good. Christy is a big Alan Tudyk fan. We were actually just talking about him while we were waiting for her vaccine on Thursday. And so, yeah, I'll have to tell her. It's like, maybe we should try this one out because that sounds like she'd like it.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a fun time. Let me just make sure that it is on Peacock real quick.
You're probably right. I would bet that maybe the connection is it's a Universal production. Maybe that's why it ended up there.
I think so.
That would make sense. Cool.
Let's see, it's Resident Alien.
Yeah.
Yep. Resident Alien weekly on Peacock. 2 episodes weekly. So yeah,
I'll have to check that one out.
Checking this out.
Yeah, I'll check
for those of you who do have Peacock or TBS, it's a funny show, and you're trying to not give away that you're an alien, that he's an alien, and trying to figure out the reason why he's on Earth and how he's going to essentially ET himself to get back home.
Yeah. So the better of the 2 alien shows this week.
Yeah, it's the good one. It's the funny one. Yeah. It's the one that might end up like Angie Tribeca and only have 3 seasons.
Probably.
But is still funny.
Yeah.
And actually has a very promising future ahead of it.
Cool.
I look forward to more seasons if it gets it. The only reason I hesitate is because it is on TBS.
Yeah, and who knows?
Peacock, so it may switch to just being a Peacock only, which may even be better for it, honestly.
We'll see.
Getting more Peacock originals would kind of help boost her.
Yeah. Okay. What else? You have a couple more things on here.
Yep. So we'll talk about the alien ship, the alien. Now let's talk about the Allen.
If we must.
We must. So I've been hinting about this for the past 3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
The HBO documentary 4-part special, Allen v. Farrow, about Notorious, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, at this point.
Director Woody Allen and his case with Mia Farrow and daughter Dylan Farrow.
Yeah.
And the whole... I don't know, I tread lightly about this. Should I tread lightly?
Do we ever here on the Media Boat podcast?
No.
Do we ever?
No, we don't.
You don't.
The sexual allegations against Woody Allen and the court case against him being a child predator to Mia Farrow and her family.
Right.
The reason I don't limit it to just Dylan Farrow or Mia Farrow is because, as infamously as it is known, or at least should be known at this point, Woody Allen married Mia Farrow's daughter, adopted daughter, Soon Yi, when she was 22 and he was like 45 or something.
Mm-hmm.
They go into it in the documentary how he had, not so much in all intents and purposes stated outright, but it is heavily implied that he groomed her by being around the Farrow family, never marrying Mia Farrow, but instead marrying the adopted daughter, and got into a whole lot of mess that we don't have time to get into.
It's a can of worms.
Separate podcast and deep dive and everything. That if you don't know anything about this, go in blind, and it definitely doesn't paint Woody Allen in a positive light.
Nor should it, because it seems like everybody involved has been telling their stories so thoroughly and accurately over the last
30 years
plus at this point. Yeah, like decades. And so it's pretty clear that the case that can be made against it. Of course, we're not lawyers here. We can't come to any like legal conclusion, but this is a good way, like this 4-part series is a good way to, like you said, give some of the like an uninitiated person a beat by beat rundown of what's going on here.
Yes, it is broken up into 4 parts. The first part being the man, the myth, Woody Allen, and how his basically career and then introduction to Mia Farrow and how they are intertwined. The second part being his interactions with the daughters of Soon Yi and Dylan Farrow, and his interactions with those children in general. The third episode is the trial itself and all the legal allegations that arose and all the investigation that went through. I'm throwing some quotes around investigation because this goes into it of what they did and did not cover and what they probably should have covered.
Okay.
And the lengthy battle that happened in the courts and played out in front of the TV cameras. And then it ends with episode 4 being the epilogue, what has happened since and why the story is being told now. It does feel like this was shot in 2017 and 2018, or at least that's when it started, from the Me Too movement. But then Woody Allen put out a book since then, a memoir book, an audio book, and that in 2020. And so that pushed this narrative to incorporate some of those audio experts into this as a way to say, hey, we got Woody Allen's perspective on
Mhm.
this without actually having him appear in this documentary. Right. Which is really smart because that book is, in a sense, finite because it's written, it's there, it's out. Anyone can go and read it and read his version if they want.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this is not their response to the book, but rather the book just happened to come out as they were producing this. And yeah, you can make up your own mind about which way you sway on this, but if you're trying to defend Woody Allen at this point, you're not starting off on any good footing at all.
It's a difficult case to make. The man himself can't really even make
it anyways, but
right, yeah,
lawyers make it anyways because they are
that's their job.
to
They're
argue that point.
They're hired at that point to do that for him, and so yeah, it's what they have to do. But yeah, no, I think it's smart to get something like this out now because I feel like, I mean, hell, even less than a decade ago, we were in film school and still assigned Woody Allen movies. Like his legacy is so imprinted already on film, like on film studies, that if you aren't introduced to something like this, if you aren't introduced to the idea that he's gone through this kind of experience in his life, you might not never know. You might not have ever been told. And so I'm glad that something like this is going, like, is available for people who are the uninitiated to get caught up on it in such a clear and concise way.
Oh, it does go into how his films have been received. Mm-hmm. It also goes into a kind of film study about the kind of characters he writes about and his romantic leads, as he always casts himself a part of.
You can look back and see a lot of evidence in the things he wrote of the kind of person that he is in real life.
Right, and one of the things we were taught in film school is you write what you know.
And yeah, that's great. Unless it's illegal. That's the thing. Is as soon as you get into legal territory, then you're like, maybe I shouldn't have wrote that movie about the thing that I was doing in real life. What do you know?
It also goes into quite heavily when Woody Allen was receiving his Lifetime Achievement Awards, and all these actors were coming out and
against him.
Barbra Streisand, like, singing his praises when he was accepting these awards.
Right.
It doesn't look so good now, but then again, it never did. Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be those people who, you know, are always very quick to point out, yeah, but you should be able to separate the art from the artist and all that. And sure, fine. To a certain extent, I get why people say that. And I get that the importance of film as a work of art is important. And I get the idea of that. That being said, there's such an imprint of the creator on every work that sometimes it is, and increasingly the case with Allen's work, is becoming the point where they are so inseparable, the two of them, because of how much he wrote about his own life. That, yeah, it's really, we're getting to the point, like you said, where it's hard to make any sort of judgment that doesn't make him look like he made some mistakes, is the lightest way I can put it.
I mean, I don't want to say depending on who you believe, because you should believe one.
Right. It's overwhelming at this point. It's overwhelming that the things basically we've heard.
It's this documentary pushes it from who do you believe to here are the facts.
Yeah.
Why do you still don't believe? Why aren't you looking at the facts if these are the facts?
Right. Exactly. So it's a recommend? Do you think it's a well-made thing?
It's a recommend, but also not for the faint of heart going into this.
I would imagine if you're watching this, you kind of already are ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to read the synopsis and then you immediately know, oh, that's what this is about.
Right, but
yeah,
if you're in film school or any part of that, yeah, definitely watch this.
Yeah, I think that in the wake of this, I'm hoping that maybe the curriculum in school maybe changes a little bit.
There are definitely other films in that era that you can spotlight.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, speaking of other spotlights, there's one last spotlight we want to shine here.
Yes. I did not mean to shine the spotlight, but I saw this on my Twitter feed, and I just kind of kept in the back of my mind that, yeah, I should probably watch this before we podcast on Wednesday. And just, can I say, I'm so glad that I did.
So I didn't watch this because I'm way behind, and I understand that there's actually lore in this show. And so there was stuff that I would have missed potentially. So I did not, but I'm glad you did.
So I didn't watch any of those episodes. I just skipped straight to the end. And you don't need all that lore, but I kind of went back and like cherry picked what I thought would be lore. And yeah, it does help. Not necessary, but definitely does help, and definitely does build on the success. I'll call it a outright success here for the 3 seasons of Ducktales. Woohoo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about this when it got canceled, that this would be its final season.
Yep.
That even we were kind of struggling with, why would they cancel the show? It's clearly a success. It's clearly working for them. People love this new reboot of DuckTales. Woohoo. I still don't know why it got canceled. Maybe animation, maybe story, I don't know, but
I don't know. I have some ideas and some theories, but I'm not gonna bother. It doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter at this point why it got canceled. It just did. That being said, the final episode, which is an hour and a half special, wraps up. Not only does it wrap up everything, not only does it put a very cute bow on everything, but it hammers home and reinforces what made DuckTales woohoo special. I'm gonna do it every single time. Keep laughing.
I know you are.
It's a show about the family. It's a show about the brothers, about the adventures, about Scrooge McDuck, about Webby, about Launchpad, and they do a great job in the final episode bringing all your favorite characters back. And one of my favorites in writing, giving them purpose to be there. Everyone has a moment to shine. Everyone, all these characters that they've brought in over the past 3 seasons, whether they be one-shots or recurrings, they each show up and they each have some purpose within the episode of the finale. Yes, it does make more of an impact if you watched the entire series, if you built up to it. There is a lot more impact as a show, as a lore, as a narrative. But just watching that final 3 episodes, because usually when you do something like this, like you kind of have that finale within the past the last 3 or 4 episodes leading up to it. It hits on every kind of emotion that you have. It's one of the best finales I've seen in TV. Not even just animation, just in TV in general.
Wow, okay.
And it hits on everything. Kind of very similar to how Star and the Forces of Evil ended, and how we were very happy with that ending.
Yeah.
I got that kind of same vibe here, where I was very happy with how they ended it. It wrapped everything up that they were building, and it did actually kind of leave the door open for more adventures, should they have them. But that being said, if this is truly the ending, it's a good bow on that ending.
And I think that came from being able to do a proper ending to the show. It sounded like that the terms of the cancellation at least allowed them to plan for a proper finale. A lot of shows don't get that. A lot of shows kind of just disappear to the ether with none of their plot lines resolved, without the ability to do a proper finale. Because sometimes shows are like that, where it's so down to the wire that you don't know if you're going to get picked up. And so, yeah, it's a blessing that this team got to be as creative as possible with their finale, make the finale that they wanted, the finale that the show deserved. And it's because, a lot of shows don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, there are lore specific episodes throughout this past season. I think one of them is titled Our First Adventure, which I would highly suggest watching that in concordance. In condolences.
Our condolences to the Ducktales.
In concordance with the final episode. I think it's like episode 6 or 10 on the season before the finale. But that is a lore dump that really helps you appreciate the finale more. But that being said, even if you didn't see a whole lot of the episodes,
you'll still be okay.
You would still be okay. You'd still understand a lot of the stuff that's going on and make connections that even if you didn't watch a lot of the episodes, you'd make connections like, oh, that person's this person because I have some kind of familiarity with the show, being a passive observer. That being said, definitely watch these episodes when they go on Disney Plus. This show is easily bingeable. Each episode is like 22 minutes long, and they run fast for an animated show. It's not like a grudging show. It's a fast, animated, hilarious show.
It's definitely on my list to just go through all of it because I watched a lot of it. Like I think I've most of season 1 under the belt, but then like after that I kind of dropped off, and so I don't remember exactly where I left off, and that's always the worst because then you go like, well, I don't want to watch something I've already watched, but I also don't remember the last one I watched, so I have to watch this one basically until I remember it, and then oh wait, no, maybe I watched only half of it, and so it's really, really hard to pick back up, and so that's kind of where I'm at with it. So eventually I'll probably just start from the top and just get everything done. I'm actually like that way with Adventure Time too. Like I haven't watched like half of that show and I don't know where I left off.
But yeah, DuckTales, woohoo, one last time.
Yeah.
The finale, definitely check it out.
I'm glad that they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Got to make the ending that they wanted.
I'm glad that they made the ending that they did because they nailed it. They nailed the ending.
Okay, are we good with TV thoughts? Is that everything we watched?
Yes, because we're approaching 2.5 hours here.
Yeah, I know. Like, we got to finish this show. Too many thoughts this week. Too many thoughts. We're not done because it's time for cancellations and renewals.
All right, what am I no longer watching besides DuckTales? Woohoo.
You're no longer watching NBC's World of Dance because it was canceled after its 4th season. You are still watching Outlander on Starz. It's gotten a 7th season. ABC is bringing back The Bachelorette for a 17th and 18th season, so more to come from there. And the BBC, across the pond, is making the 4th season of Killing Eve its final season. So no more sexual tension between women on that show. So
Sandra, oh no.
Sandra, oh no. Then we have one death. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, age 66, a Hall of Fame boxer, the undisputed middleweight champion from 1980 to 1987. For those who are not versed in boxing lore, undisputed is the term used when a boxer holds world titles from all 4 major sanctioning organizations in boxing. That includes the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and the WBO. So yeah, quite a legend in boxing.
Yeah, you're holding the middleweight title from 4 different organizations for 7 years.
That's impressive.
Unprecedented.
You don't see that a whole lot.
No, but still, even young at 66.
Yeah, that's pretty tragic.
Yep.
Moving
All
on.
right, let's get to the end here, shall we?
Into movies. Where we usually start the show. We're now ending the show. Real quick box office update for you. Raya and the Last Dragon is still your #1 movie. Made another $5.7 million, sitting at $16 million domestic. Tom and Jerry sitting at made another $4.1 million for Warner. That's sitting at $28 million. That's a very bright and shiny, that thing you've got there.
The shiny rock.
Yeah. And #3, Chaos Walking. $2.2 million. That adds to a $6.9 million domestic total. Nice.
No, not nice. Poor Tom Holland.
6.9.
Actually, we'll talk about poor Tom Holland later.
Yeah. We have a couple of new releases this week, thanks to the magic of streaming. including actually, I don't know if either of these are streaming. That's next week. The Courier. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Nope, it said wide release.
Okay. And The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
I believe that is supposed to be a comedy.
That sounds like it. But now it's time to talk about more award season, because award season is close to its apex, which of course is the Academy Awards. We finally, at long last, learned the Academy Award nominations for 2021 just this past week. First up, Netflix's Mank, a movie that neither of us have watched, leaves the field. Although I do plan on going back to it. I watched the first 20 minutes and bailed, but I do plan on eventually making myself go through it, but we'll see. It leads the field with 10 nominations in all the major categories. Making history, 2 women, Emerald Fennell and Chloe Zhou, were nominated in the directing category in the same year for the first time. Previously, in years where a woman has been nominated for director, they've been the only one in a field of men.
It's Chloe Zhao.
Is it Zhao? I've only heard Zhou, so I was just saying what I heard.
Yep. Okay.
She is the first woman of color to be nominated in the category, by the way. So congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, 70 women received a total of 76 nominations in the Oscars this year, a record for one given year.
It is notable she would be the favorite going into the directing category as well.
I believe you're correct, yeah. Overall, it is notable that 3 Black men, Leslie Odom Jr., Daniel Kaluuya, and Lakeith Stanfield, were all nominated in the Best Supporting Actor category, with Chadwick Boseman receiving a posthumous nomination in the Lead Actor category. This is probably the time where we should briefly talk about this. Who is the lead actor in Judas and the Black Messiah?
I keep telling you it's Lakeith Stanfield.
I thought it was until this award, until these nominations came up, and now I'm confused because they are not. No one is nominated for lead actor in this film.
Yeah, it's weird how both your lead actors end up with both supporting actor nominations.
I'm very confused. Like, I was under the impression that Daniel Kaluuya was the supporting actor.
So when these ballots go out, people rank where they want them to be.
Uh-huh.
Both Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya got enough votes in the supporting category for them to both be nominated.
I mean, yeah,
but not enough votes to make a slot on the best on the lead actor.
We kind of talked about this when we were talking about the film, but it is unclear who the film wants to be the lead actor. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it ended up this way, but this sucks because my worry now is that both will lose because they'll cancel each other out.
But they'll split the vote.
Yeah, I really think that still I think that this is Kaluuya's to lose, but maybe not. Maybe they screwed him over.
Well, maybe they just did this because they knew they were already going to give to Chadwick Boseman and the lead actor.
Oh, maybe you're right. There's some politicking going on here.
Yes, because if you're going to give Chadwick Boseman an Oscar, it's literally going to be for this role. It's not going to be for anything else.
Right, it has to be. Oh well, we'll see. Picking up where we left off, Riz Ahmed became the first Muslim actor to be nominated in the lead actor category. Stephen Yeun became the first Asian American to be nominated in the lead actor category. And Maria Bakalova gets a supporting actress nomination out of nowhere for Borat 2.
Hey, all that campaigning from Sacha Baron Cohen worked.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or should I say Amazon?
And both.
Yeah.
So we mentioned kind of in the lead up to this whether we thought that there would be enough films nominated to fill all 10 of the spots for Best Picture. Turns out we were right. There are not, according to the Academy, and only 8 films are nominated this year. Where to watch, and so here's the list, and here's where to watch them, because for the first time ever, you can watch all of these from home. Not a single one is not available to you in some fashion outside of your own house. So that's good news. First up, The Father, which is available on video on demand. Judas and the Black Messiah, which is currently available only on video on demand. You had an option to watch it on HBO Max during its availability window.
Yes, that ended as of Sunday, the 14th.
Yes.
That 1 month passed, so now you can only get it on video on demand, unless you were smart and watched it when it was available on
like we did.
HBO Max.
Mank, which is available on Netflix still. Minari, which is available on video on demand. Nomadland, which is currently still available on Hulu. Promising Young Woman, also video on demand release. Sound of Metal, Amazon Prime exclusive. And The Trial of the Chicago 7, also on Netflix. So, yeah, all over the place.
If you have streaming services, you can watch currently 4 of these films. And if you had HBO Max and watched it, 5 of them.
So yeah, good chance that this year is finally a year where we're going to both probably watch most of these. Maybe not the video on demand releases, and maybe not for me, the Amazon one. So I'm like, I'd rather not. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So this year's awards are set to air on Sunday, April 25th on ABC. How are you feeling? Because my feeling about this year is, just kind of a big meh. I thought I was excited, and then when I read all the nominees, I just came out of it and being like, well, this is not exciting.
Well, it all depends on how you feel about Nomadland winning.
I think it's the favorite, and I think it's going to dominate here because just there's not enough strong competition.
Like I said, Judas and the Black Messiah.
I don't think it's as strong as you think it is. I think that it'll take the acting category and supporting actor, and probably in supporting actress as well. But beyond that,
it will win because Judas and the Black Messiah will win the Emmy for Outstanding Ensemble Cast, and whatever wins Ensemble Cast usually goes on to win Best Picture.
You said Emmy, but I think you mean SAG.
Yeah, SAG. Sorry, I said Emmy. I think I said Emmy. Yeah, SAG. Whoever wins SAG,
it will win the actor. The actor, because that's what they call those awards.
Right.
I mean, we'll see. Remember, that has not always been reliable for us. We used to think it was, and for a while it was, but then it stopped working.
Like I think 1 out of the past 3 years, it was actually the case. The other two was not.
We whiffed on because it wasn't. We need to pick up our game. Last year, I believe, was our worst prediction year in Oscar history of doing the show. So we need to get it right this year.
Yes.
We need to pick up what we left like on the floor, because we did badly last year.
Yeah,
especially
we did bad
me.
Last year.
Especially me. So yeah, we'll see if we can do a better job. But yeah, I think, of course, the story here is the diversity, and there is, yes, leaps and bounds above where we were before. But the movies just aren't as strong. I'll just be honest. It was a weak year for movies. It was a weak year for the movie studios, I think, overall, and it shows in these nominations. And yeah, there's just not a whole lot to love here, but I hope Nomadland has a good night. I hope the actors for Judas and the Black Messiah have a good night. But
whichever of them wins.
And the rest is gravy at this point, because I'm not really invested in a lot of these movies. Yep, gravy. Anything else you want to say about the Oscars before we move on?
Nope, because we got to move on.
We do. Thankfully, we just have some bits left for you in the movie news, so let's go to it. First up in the bits, the battle between Avatar and Avengers Endgame continues for box office supremacy. Currently, Avatar is now back at the top with 3.5 million, I think you mean billion, and covering that.
Nope.
No?
It earned 3.5 million in China.
On top of what it already has, which beats it, the $1 million gap that separated the two films. Got it. Yes. Okay. So now it's up to Endgame to pick up some slack.
Which Endgame will definitely roll out once theaters are open again. Because, hey, remember when you saw Endgame?
Yeah,
which probably the last movie you saw in theaters?
For a lot of people, it probably was. Meanwhile, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has begun production with Jeff Fowler back in the director's seat after some conversation about whether he would or not.
Yep.
But yeah, so that movie will still come out. MoviePass. Back from the dead. Might as well call it Zombie MoviePass, because it set up a countdown to a relaunch this Monday.
Who knows if it's a relaunch? It's just an ominous countdown to Monday.
Hey, maybe people get their money back.
I don't know. But if you're into game stonks and want to invest in Helios and Matheson,
don't do it.
It's literally less than a penny right now for a stock.
Yeah, don't do it. Trust me, don't do it. It's a bad move.
I'm just saying, if you want to throw $1 on it, you'll get 10 shares. Actually, maybe 100, because it's less than a penny.
Former famous ship and current Long Beach tourist destination, the Queen Mary, will be getting its own trilogy of horror films. Yay!
Wait, I mean,
Yeah, if you like creepy boats, hey, creepy boat movies coming your way. And then lastly, Kenneth Branagh, it's always fun to say, is going to be directing a Bee Gees movie for Paramount. I hope it's better than Staying Alive, the previous Bee Gees movie. But
we'll just show how deep their love is.
we'll have to find out, I think.
Yes. Also, if you don't want to wait for that, there is a Bee Gees documentary on HBO Max that you can watch instead.
Okay, now we get into thoughts. We both watched something. I'll be real brief about mine. I watched a Netflix documentary, which I guess originates actually from last year. I'm not really sure where it aired previous to its Netflix arrival. But I watched The Last Blockbuster, which is not about a film, but instead about Blockbuster, the chain of video rental stores. It's kind of a hybrid. It's both a story about Blockbuster, the corporation, about what kind of led to its rise and what eventually led to its demise. The popular
opinion, buying Netflix.
Well, so I was just going to say the popular opinion being, oh, Netflix and streaming killed it. Not exactly. The documentary does a pretty good job of giving you a more detailed version, including some stuff that I didn't even know. And I felt like I was pretty knowledgeable about the situation, but stuff that surprised me goes into the nitty gritty about what actually led to their ultimate closure. Then the other half of the documentary is a combination of a story about the actual Last Blockbuster, which is currently in Bend, Oregon, still open, just renewed their arrangement with Dish Network, the current owners of the Blockbuster name, to continue operating under the name Blockbuster. So they will be a Blockbuster for at least a few more years. And their last one. They lasted longer than everybody else. They actually inherited, one of the fun things in the documentary is they inherited the stuff that John Oliver sent the Alaska store. Remember that episode Last Week Tonight from a few years back? The
cod piece.
So when those Alaska stores closed, the franchisee reached out to the franchisee of the Bend, Oregon store and said, hey, we'll ship you this shit. They took everything but the loincloth. They're a family store. Anyway, so yeah.
It was used.
I will say, to me, the Blockbuster history stuff worked a lot better than the let's talk about the people who work and run the Bend, Oregon Blockbuster store. I think that is fascinating to a certain point, but that story only takes about 10 minutes to tell. And so what you have is basically an hour and a half long documentary that spends the first very informative 45 minutes talking about the stuff that's actually interesting. And then the rest of its runtime just kind of meandering about the Bend, Oregon store. And then it does the cardinal sin of filling the rest of the time with celebrity interviews.
No.
There are so many celebrities in this thing that are talking about stuff that doesn't matter. They have Kevin Smith talk to you about video rental for a while. They have all sorts of very strange choices for celebrities. They have a celebrity that even makes the trip out to Bend and visits the store for way too much screen time. And so by the end of this thing, I was like, well, this was 45 minutes of a good documentary and just a bunch of filler that I just was bored out of my mind watching. So I don't recommend it. I think that there's a nugget of cool history if you're interested at all in the empire that was Blockbuster, but it's nothing that you can't learn from a Wikipedia article, and that might be a better use of your time. I think this is somebody who's probably cutting their teeth at documentary filmmaking. This seems to be a kickstarted thing, which might be part of it. And so it was a thing that I think they had like a kernel of a good idea for, and just too much filler and didn't have enough of the story to tell. So I don't know. It's fine. If you're interested at all in Blockbuster, maybe check it out, but it's way too much. But
anyways, I'll be real brief with my review because it's something you shouldn't watch.
All right. Okay. What else shouldn't I watch?
Apple TV Plus.
I mean, should for like Ted Lasso.
Yes. No, but they have a movie out.
Yes.
Titled Cherry.
Yes.
This is brought to you by the aforementioned Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War and Captain America Civil War and episodes of Community. Joe and Anthony Russo, the Russo brothers.
Right, the Russos.
They have brought with them Tom Holland, Spider-Man, to this interesting story, really interesting story.
Okay.
About a former army medic who comes home and gets addicted to drugs, pain pills, and then hard drugs, and then life kind of spirals out of control. It's Jarhead. It's one part Jarhead, one part Requiem of a Dream.
Okay.
And the whole time I'm watching it, I am wondering, do I care? And that is a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
That's a bad sign, especially come from, what you would expect to be high profile directors or, blockbuster directors making something quite mediocre and something that you're not really invested in.
Yeah.
Not a good sign. But then again, this is based off a book and I assume based off an actual life. And it kind of tiptoes and teeters on the point of, is this the normal story for people, or is this just very specific to this one person what happened?
Yeah.
It's not something I recommend because at one point I thought it was getting interesting, and then it took a hard left into that Requiem for a Dream territory, which I was not quite ready for, and started wondering, do I care? And wow, you've become the bad guy in this. I'm clearly stopped rooting for you at this point. You don't deserve a happy ending.
Okay.
And yet they somehow say it does get a happy ending. Happy in quotes. So I'm not recommending this film. I kind of slowly regret watching it at some points.
I've heard similar takes that people are like, why? What, this like could have been good, but not in the thing they made. Like, it seems like it has all, like, on paper this should work. On paper,
it's a good story.
You could see what Apple was thinking, right? Because they're like, okay, good story with potential, important, currently relevant directors that have done good work before. What could possibly go wrong? But we see this kind of story in Hollywood all the time, right? Which is powerful directors get a project that they probably should not have worked on, and it ends up being terrible. But everybody told them yes the whole time because of how powerful they were.
Right, or it's hard to say no to a person in charge.
And you like, get the idea that maybe nobody said no when they should have. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't say no, you don't question it, and it gets into we've gone too far at this point.
Yes.
That's just what we're ending.
There's no eject seat. We have to bear this out. We have to release this.
So it's hard to recommend, essentially. It's disappointing. Especially if once it gets to all those hard drug scenes and really hard drug scenes, that you get into wait, I thought I was watching something else at this point. Why am I not watching this? When did that switch happen? I am now lost. Right. And that's the point where you kind of like either pause or stop it and like basically jump ship and don't finish it. But then even when you do finish it, it's not a completely happy ending that it wants it to be. And it does the one thing that I don't like when a movie does is it breaks it up into chapters and says,
oh no,
the beginning, the war, the aftermath.
It's like
epilogue.
Thank you for telling us your act structure. Right. Yeah.
So don't recommend Cherry, even though on paper it sounds good. But much like the Angels baseball, on paper, it sounds good.
Hey, we're looking good in real life too right now. Just saying.
I know we're looking good in real life, but once the season starts and you actually watch what's happening, it's gonna be a bit of a train wreck.
Yeah, always. Well, that's disappointing. So I guess Russo brothers stick to what you know, which is spandex.
Comic books. Adaptations.
Yes, maybe.
All right. But with that, that'll do it for us.
That
end here.
Will be it. Thank you for joining us on this extra long, mega-sized edition of the Media Boat Podcast. We will see you guys next week for hopefully a shorter episode, but no guarantees. You can catch us in all sorts of ways. You can watch the video version of our podcast on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Media Boat Podcast, find our page, like, subscribe, everything you do on YouTube pages. You can also see us, or listen to us more accurately, in audio form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, even. Anywhere where you absorb podcasts, we are there. Just search Media Boat Podcast and find our page. You can also find us on social media channels, social media channels such as Twitter. Our handle there is @MediaBoatCast. Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast. You'll find our page there. Like, comment. Email us if you have questions, comments, anything about the show that you need to get off your chest at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, we leave you, but we'll be back next week for more from the world of all of our subjects: television, movies, video games, and music.
Not yes, and if you are somehow finding our website, mediaboatpodcast.com, yes. I see the viewership going up randomly.
Yeah, some old stuff on there.
There's some old writings on there. We should be posting stuff like the current episodes.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Maybe someday we'll get caught up on there. But go to
a lot of work. I don't know if you know that.
Podcasting feeds, and that will be where you can get new episodes. Yeah. All right, we're done.
All right, bye. See you guys next week.
Okay, bye.